The February 11th meeting of the Durham Planning Board shall come to order. We'll start with call to order, and roll call. I'll start with myself tonight. Paul Rasmussen, your chair, going this way.
Sally Tobias.
Heather Grant.
Robert Sullivan.
Gary Whittington.
Julian Smith.
Emma Hollander.
Peter Howd. Darrell Ford. Richard Kelly. Peyton McManus.
Michael Barrett. Manish Nanda cannot make it tonight.
All right. Do we have anyone from Zoom? No. None? All right. Nice. Approval of the agenda. I am going to postpone item 12 tonight because the online folks could not see the proposed ordinance.
Oh,
The links did not bring us to anything that looked remotely like EV charging ordinance.
December 10th is the latest.
The only thing, yeah.
oh,
All right, it went to the old regulations,
all right.
so,
I let them know, but they didn't get it up in
Did-
time.
so, okay.
Did you send it in an email?
And with that, that's the only modification I have for the agenda. Anybody else? Move to accept as amended?
Second.
All right, seconded by Darrell. All in favor? Aye. All right. Town planners report?
Only that you have in front of you, I made a hard copy of the maps that I had included in the packet for the residential zoning amendment items. And there's also an item there that Rob and Mower sent with a suggested revision to the table of uses and some particulars on the, showing the zoning amendment, item 10. And that's all I have.
That was an email. You don't have that.
I emailed it.
It was
yeah,
an
and then I
email and
left
it's
a
on your,
Yeah.
hard copy.
on your table there. All right, any questions for the town planner? No, good. Reports from board members who serve on other committees?
Conservation Commission is still working through the shoreland wetland ordinance, and it's going to be quite a while before we finish it. We're patiently going through it.
All right. Town council?
Town council met on February 2nd. There was...
Microphone?
Huh?
You-
Oh, am I not? Okay, sorry. So there was a discussion on the height limits that then moved to public hearing for the 50-foot limit on the Central Business District zoning. Oh,
Central Business District 1.
CB1.
CB1, sorry, yes, good. I think the only other thing was under the unanimous consent that might be interesting is that there's approval of the trash contract. So if anybody has some trash containers that are hobbling to the very end, don't buy a new one, because when the new trash pickup is set up, it will include provided waste and recycled containers. So I think that was something.
Can I ask a question? When might that happen, the
It's
transition?
estimated July.
July?
I'll update that in a minute. Sally?
Oh, good.
Oh. Do we know what sizes we're all going to get?
I can provide.
You're gonna
All right.
make
Do that, because
So
he's the
during the
IMAC
IMAC meeting, a good chunk of our meeting was dedicated, and a lot of effort is going to be put in place for doing the community outreach and education for this changeover. Everybody will be getting a 48-gallon can and a 96-gallon can. 48-gallon can will be for your regular trash that will go out every week, and the 96-gallon can will be for single-stream recycling, which will be picked up every other week. The cans are scheduled to be distributed right in the middle of May, and there'll be a transition period. The July 1 contract is when Casella will start doing the pickups. But they will provide the route information they'll be using to Public Works, and between when the new cans go out and Casella takes over, Public Works will be trying to mimic Casella and provide the education and everything else that's needed for a smoother transition for the community. If people need extra cans, there will be ways to get extra cans. Casella has they call it, I forget, a pink or a yellow, red, special, basically, you can do an annual lease of an extra can, so that if you temporarily have extra garbage, like you have lots of diapers or something like that going out, you can rent a can for the year or 2 or 3 that you need it. Then when you don't need it anymore, you don't have to keep renting it, and that way, you sort of have a flexible waste stream volume up
So
there.
the amount of waste we're allowed is being limited as to what we get for free
Yes.
by the 48 gallon.
Pretty much. The transfer station is still going to be open 2 days a week at least. There is talk about maybe going to a third, and you'd be welcome to bring stuff directly to the transfer station if you don't want to do extra curbside. If you generate a lot of cardboard, for instance, you might want to run that directly to the transfer station as opposed to trying to put it out at the curb.
Okay, it's going to be interesting.
Yes.
What are we doing with our garbage and recycling trucks?
The ones that are barely being kept
Those
together by rubber bands and so I do not know. But at least one of them is right at end of life. The original plan had been to replace them because they're approaching end of life. So we probably will sell them off and get a little bit of money for them, but. Any other committee reports? All right, the solar committee is fine-tuning their, the infrared monitors and working on creating user guides for them, explaining how they work, what to do with them, stuff like that, before they get distributed over to the library. But that will probably be happening in the next month or 2. All right. Public comments? Is there anyone who'd like to speak on something that's not on tonight's agenda? Anything on Sue?
Nope.
All right, we have review of minutes. So the December 10 minutes, I got a call from Karen Edwards, and she was going through and picking up the changes we made to the minutes, and she noted that we never voted on them after we talked about them that night in January, at our last meeting. So we need to do a vote to approve the minutes as we amended them at our previous meeting.
Mr. Chairman, I've read over the minutes that were in our packet, and there are a number of things that did not get corrected or really need to be corrected. So I'd like to go over those if we may.
Are we
Are those
talking
the
about the
December
December 10?
December 10th minutes.
All right.
Those were not in our packet.
On
Those were
page
not.
1.
Yeah,
at
other
the-
docs.
The last line, reporting from the Energy Committee, Chair Rasmussen said the Energy Committee meeting was canceled. That is, add the words meeting was. Let's see, on page 2, in Judith Spang's comments, the middle of that paragraph, starting with Judith Spang, I would amend that sentence in the middle to say, she said 260 citizens signed a petition, and many people at the public hearing spoke, blah, blah, blah. I can provide you with my copy to make it easier to make these corrections. And then on page 4, the second paragraph, starting with Valerie Shelton, the last sentence is unclear about what she means by minimizing impacts of development. And I think what she said there needs to be a bit clearer. I think I raised this issue the last time we looked at these, but I think it needs to be fixed. And moving on very quickly, the bottom of page 7, where we have, near the bottom where item postponed, would it be appropriate to explain why this item was postponed? We don't have to, but I would recommend it be explained. And I'll just pass these on to Michael. Thank you. Thank you for letting me do that.
All right, so, yeah. All right, so I'll move to approve the December 10th minutes as amended at our previous meeting and this evening.
Or perhaps as amended
Or is it,
by whatever Mr. Barrett does with the notes I sent him. 'Cause, Michael, you find a few other small things that are not substantive but might improve the minutes. By the way, the minutes are getting better. They are getting better. Thank you.
I would second that motion.
discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I'm not seeing what I'm voting on. I'm not going to vote for it.
You could choose to abstain? Okay, you'll oppose
Yep, I'll
instead of...
oppose it.
Very good. All right, and now... I just lost my agenda again. All right, item 8, Riverwood's amendment of site plan for addition, 14 Stone Quarry Drive. Amendment to original site plan for main campus of 3,176 square foot addition, updated landscaping and pathways, drainage, and other minor improvements in courtyard on easterly side of the building. Riverwood Stern property owner Eric Sari, agent Altus Engineering, map 209, lot 37, Office Research District. Before we get started, Mr. Sari, I want to do a little bit of administrative questioning. Mr. Barrett, we had spoken earlier about other possibilities for this to move forward other than as an amendment. Could you explain to the board what those are?
There's 3 levels of changes to approved plans. For very straightforward things, I can approve if there's no substantive change as a staff modification. For items that are a little more, that I'm not really comfortable approving administratively, but that are not really, don't really seem to have a significant impact for the public, I bring those to the board as a planning board modification. And if the board thinks it's not real major, the board just approves it. No notices or hearings. Items that are larger, we handle as an amendment, which involves notices, a public hearing, notices and a public hearing. And those are usually 2 meetings. Paul and I had spoken, Paul asked if this could be treated as a planning board modification, and certainly could. If you don't think that there's any, significant concerns here or anything that would be of concern to the public, then you could take action as just a planning board modification. That you could even do that tonight.
So, I'm looking to other members of the planning board right now to whether they feel this is more appropriate as a planning board modification or as an amendment. And I'd like to get that straightened out. And if you think you'd like to hear from the applicant before we make that decision, I'm open to that as well. But I wanted to get at least that on the table before everything else started. A question, Peter?
Yeah, what's the square footage of the building that the addition is going on?
The existing building or the
Yes,
addition
the
itself?
exi- the existing, the-
Jeez, you had to ask that question. It's pretty darn big.
Yeah, so I was looking, what's the percentage
Very-
increase
very
in
small.
square
I mean,
feet?
it's
10%,
nothing.
less than 10%?
Oh, God, yeah.
Okay.
Way less than 10%. I would also like to point out that in terms of a public hearing, the only abutter to this property is the town
Is
itself.
the town itself.
So it's kind of foolish to, like, you guys can talk about it, I guess.
And
You're here.
could you just go through those two options one more time? Because I think I caught them the first time through, but just
Yeah.
one more time on that.
In fact, let me just get the language from the planning board rules of procedures. Let's see.
And my thoughts were sort of along with Peter's. This is such a minor change to such a large site that it didn't strike me as reaching the point where we needed to go through an amendment.
So, yeah, from the planning board bylaws, 3 types of changes to approved plans: administrative modification by staff, simple, straightforward changes, not be expected to have any impact. B, planning board modification, more consequential changes that would not be expected to have meaningful impact on abutters or the public, may be approved by the planning board without notices. And amendments, changes that might reasonably be expected to have a meaningful impact on abutters or the public are amendments with a public hearing. So just, it doesn't give you a lot of language, but your judgment.
Can I just ask, I'm the new kid on the planning board, so I'm kind of drinking from the fire hose, and I just want to clarify, what is the addition for?
Okay. Do you want me to go through the whole
Maybe we
presentation?
could-
I think it would make,
Okay.
no, I think it
Real
would make
quick,
sense though.
Is it storage, is it living space? I'm just
It's-
curious.
The addition itself is, let me back up a little bit. On facilities like this, we do so much groundwork ahead of time, trying to figure out what goes where, how all these pieces fit together. And until you actually live in it, you don't actually know if something's going to work. In this particular case, the place has been open 6 years now. And people have been living there for a while, and they're realizing, hey, this could be better. This could go over here. Let's move this. We need more of this. In this particular case, this addition is relocating the existing common area that's an assembly hall into a bigger space. And the space that is now occupied by that assembly hall becomes dining, because they realize they don't have enough dining. Plus the phase 2 that was approved several months ago, we have additional residents coming in, so they think there's going to be more demand for those uses as well. And there's other uses inside, their fitness is moving around, there's a new music room, things like that aren't really a site plan issue. But this particular addition will be an assembly space.
Okay, thank you. That's all I
worries.
needed.
It's all good, yeah.
Darrell?
Yeah, I was just going to say that this is, the wording that Michael just read was meaningful impact on the public or abutters. Well, this faces Route 4.
Yeah.
I don't see any abutters that are going to be impacted, and certainly none of the public. So I would think it should be a planning board approved.
I agree.
Same here.
I agree as well.
I'm seeing a consensus around the table. All right, we're going to treat this as planning board modification then.
Love it.
Which means we will not be scheduling a public hearing. You are going to present us with what you're doing, and we will make a decision.
Okay. All right. Well, for the record, I'm Eric Sowry from Altus Engineering. Next to me is Vicki Martell from C. Laurel, her new landscaping company. She's the landscape architect for the project. I also have Patrick O'Keefe and Natalie Belanger from Riverwoods, in case you guys have any questions about operations or what's happening inside the building. Let's see here. Oops. Okay, this is a plan from the prior plan set for the Phase 2 project that was approved in October. You've got the 2 buildings, the community center, the maintenance garage, and we alluded to this little chunk down in here, and we said we'd be coming back to talk about that addition to the main campus building, which is why we're here now. So looking at the site from the aerial, you can see that this is enclosed on 3 sides in a courtyard. Out here on Route 4, this is that rock cliff that the DOT was supposed to work on a couple years ago, so you can't even see it from the road. It's so enclosed, so nobody can see it at all. This is hidden away. The public can't get in there. You actually have to stand in this parking lot to be able to look into the courtyard itself. Right here now, there is a kind of a covered patio, area and a trellis area, as well as, I always call this the sunglasses, sunglass-shaped walkways going through the courtyard. And rotating the plan again, you can see phase 2 over here with the building in this area here with the addition. Obviously, we'd have to remove a number of the existing features. The blue area are existing sidewalks that would come out. Those are the aforementioned sunglasses. This is the covered area that would come out, as well as the trellis, and minor modifications to some drainage. To make way for the site plan, about 3,100 square feet building addition, which is assembly space that we discussed, has a nice covered porch. And we're redoing all the walkways in here. I'll let Vicky talk more about that, but it opens up a nice big green space for outdoor activities. I guess there was a need for that, and the crossing of the walkways in the middle has gotten in the way of that, from what I understand. That's it in a nutshell. There's no new parking, there's no new nothing. There's no utilities of any kind, everything comes from the building. There are minor modifications to drainage on this section, but we're only adding about 2,000 square feet of impervious surface. This system goes to 2 distinct stormwater treatment measures. It gets treated and detained. These systems were designed to handle the 100-year storm, so there's plenty of headroom here, and those were approved by AOT, so they get adequate treatment as well. So from a stormwater perspective, that's the only thing that really changes materially from something that's underground, so I don't think that's a big concern at all. Erosion control, obviously this thing's contained within the courtyard. Nothing's running off, it's going into the drainage system, which we will protect. As well as the parking lot and the sidewalk here. We have one little measure here to not damage the existing sidewalk and curb. And that's it in a nutshell. And we get to landscaping, which is you.
So as Eric had said, 6 years ago, we designed this courtyard for the original Riverwoods development. We heard from Pat and Natalie that the residents have enjoyed it and it's worked well for them in terms of how they use the space. They like the walking loop, they like the open lawn. So the idea here is really just to recreate what they already have while accommodating the new building footprint. So the lower patio, which is at the top of the screen, that's for their assisted living and memory care residents. That's basically going to remain entirely intact, except for a little bit of planting that's abuts the new addition. So the existing plants that are there will have to come out, and then as we wrap up the development, they will be replaced. I'm trying to save as much landscaping as I can in the upper courtyard. So there's some river birches up there that are doing really well. I'm going to be able to keep 5 of those, and then some other perennials, ornamental trees, ground covers, things like that. And then we're just recreating that walking loop to give them the open lawn space in the middle. And Natalie has mentioned that the residents really like having that sort of path to traverse and clock their mileage and everything else. So we're going to keep that feature in place. I pushed it out towards the parking lot a bit, more than it was before, just to try to make it as long as possible. And we're losing a little bit of space on the left-hand side of the courtyard, so gain it on the right. All the resident patios for the IL units, the individual private patios, those will all stay in place, and I'm going to keep as much of the planting abutting them as I can. There's a couple of units that are pretty close to the new covered dining space, so we're going to do some nice lattice privacy screens in between those private patios and the dining courtyard, just to give those residents a little bit of buffering from that sort of public, so to speak, use. But other than that, it's really straightforward. It's just sort of giving them another walking loop and putting back as much planting as we can.
And this is what it looks like. The one in the middle would be if you were standing in the parking lot looking down the courtyard. This is the area, this is the covered porch, you can see that, and this is the area looking from, be the memory care courtyard. Very simple, very straightforward. The architecture mimics the rest of the building, same palette of colors and the same kind of shapes and whatnot, so it'll look like it was always there. And that's it.
All right, Peyton?
Oh, I was just going to ask about the elevation, but you've already demonstrated that. So it's not like you're going above the existing structure.
Oh, no.
It's essentially a one-story building sort of tucked in.
Exactly, yep. And as seeing this as a retirement community, the floor levels are the same. So people can roll in and out if necessary. And same thing with the patio, so you'll be able to go right out to the outside without going downstairs or anything.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions for the applicant?
Yeah, I've got a couple. I'm sorry, did I interrupt someone over there?
Nope. Well,
Gary, did you want to have something? You looked like you were about to speak.
I'll reserve until the discussion.
Richard?
Yeah, the cover letter, sir, you mentioned the modification materials that were provided us. There's no new drainage report.
No.
And in reading the letter, you state, in your professional opinion, that these changes will have an imperceptible effect on the performance of the system and present no impact to downstream properties or infrastructure.
Yeah. Yep.
And I'm wondering if you're saying that because you were able to go in and modify subcatchment XYZ and see the effect on that pond and say, we're good.
I didn't go to that extent because the amount of new surface is so minor relative to a development this big. It's a literal drop in the bucket. Furthermore, looking back at the old drainage analysis that was done back in 2018, I believe, there is headroom in the system, which gave me the comfort to make that statement. So an extra drop of water is definitely not going to break the proverbial camel's back here.
It's good to hear, because I'd like to remind everyone that the conclusion of that original drainage report was that it would have minimal adverse effect on abutting properties and infrastructure as a result of stormwater runoff. And I'd like to give you an opportunity to describe what that statement really is for us.
That is boilerplate language that we put in every drainage analysis. Minimal adverse effect basically means that you're not going to experience any flooding. You're not going to have your roads overtopped in a huge storm. You're not going to have your yard flooded out. This particular project is very unique, where downstream of here, there's none of those things except Route 4. From what I understand, there's been no issues with the culvert that goes under it. Obviously, Route 4 is very built up in that area in terms of elevation. So we've seen no additional erosion off-site in the stream between the site and DPW. I've been through there several times. I've seen no indication that anyone's experienced any additional flooding at all. So I think that that result is what minimal adverse effect is really going for.
Excellent. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Not for the applicant.
Okay. What would be, Mr. Barron?
If you see fit, you can just vote to approve this as a modification with or without any conditions.
Just one other question then. This is all getting rolled into the bigger project, correct?
Yes, it is. Yeah. I'm not sure if they're going to be constructed concurrently, but they're all part of the same animal, so to speak. They may be part of the same construction documents, but I don't know temporally if they're going to be built at exactly the same time.
Right.
So as I think Robert asked me previously, we're looking to start construction potentially this summer.
Julian?
I don't get a vote tonight on this, but I hope the rest of those of you who do have a vote will vote to pass this now. This is a very well-done presentation, very thoughtful, and I think it's going to be great. Thank you.
Gary?
I just had the point that I think we got the sequence wrong on deciding how, I agree that this can be treated as a zoning board matter.
This is a planning board
I
modification.
I misspoke, I'm sorry, planning board matter. But I think the sequence we got wrong. I think we should hear the presentation first, then make the decision as to whether it's going to be treated as a planning board matter or one requiring a public hearing, for exactly the reason that I experienced tonight. There was something that Richard raised that I really hadn't thought about, a closer look and some questions about the drainage and so forth. So I feel like I learn enough from the presentation and from other members that the materiality of the amendment should not be assumed based on just the application, but so the procedural treatment should be determined after the presentation. And after this presentation, I think it's fine to do it as a zoning board amendment.
All right. No, I wasn't sure which way to go with that. I sort of kept it open, and but I think if it had not been, at least in my mind, such an obvious thing, I would have definitely wanted to have heard more. But
We need to realize it hasn't been determined yet.
True.
How it's going to be
Right.
dealt with.
We
what I
had
meant by that
consensus, but we didn't vote.
is with regard to being
I heard that it was determined that it was going to be handled as a zoning board amendment, or at least an opinion was expressed.
takes a motion.
We haven't voted
We still
on
have
it
to-
yet.
yeah, we
was
still
just-
have to finish
It was
it.
just a general consensus.
Is what is the
relative.
point Darrell's making.
Yep.
All right. Anything more? We ready for a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we approve a planning board modification this evening at 14 Stone Quarry Drive. This is an amendment to the original site plan for the main campus for an additional 3176 square foot addition, updated landscaping, pathways, drainage, and other minor improvements in the courtyard on the easterly side of the building. As presented to us this evening, it's shown on map 209, lot 37 in the OR district.
Second.
Is there any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
3, 4, 5, 7. Opposed? None? All right, you passed.
All right. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Get out of here.
What do we got next?
All right, so the next item will be Stratford Avenue, two-lot subdivision, 20 Stratford Ave, two-lot subdivision, placing two existing houses on separate lots. Stephen Kimball, Pine Ledge Holdings property owner, Philip Yemen, surveyor, Haley Ward agent, map 106, lot 11, Residence A District.
Sorry, it's Yetman. I had that wrong on our note there.
That's okay.
Yemen, okay.
I'm used to it. It's not a common name.
Oh, it is Yetman, correct?
Yetman,
Yeah.
yeah. Great. Again, my name is Phil Yetman. I'm here with Steve, and he is the owner of Pine Ledge Holdings. We're here to subdivide an existing lot into two lots. Both of the new lots do, excuse me. Both of the lots do meet the zoning for frontage and for area. As you can see that we have the two lots here. The proposed lots are 36,610 feet for the back lot. The front lot is 20,512 feet. I know you guys read up on this. Do you guys have any questions about the lots, or?
Yeah, well, I can't speak for everybody with regards to how read up they are on it.
Oh, okay. The emails going back and forth, I thought everybody was
But
to take.
no, I mean, there's, in my mind, I'm not sure I'm ready to accept this as complete yet due to the driveway issue. I don't want to, once we accept the application as complete, a clock starts. And I don't want to sort of prematurely start the clock if you're going, you know, if there's going to be an issue with you getting a driveway permit.
Okay. Yeah, I know we waited to file for the driveway permit, just as in a course of things to do, so.
I think, so, Mr. Barron, you said that Administrator Selig would be the person who...
Right. It's not an issue that you haven't applied for the driveway permit. That's customarily after approval of a subdivision. What we looked at, your plan is to raise the front house and then to separate the driveways and put a new driveway for the front lot on the westerly section of it, which makes sense, except that there's all parallel parking spaces along the frontage except where the existing access is. And by Mr. Yetman's calculations, 3 spaces would need to be removed. So I checked with the town administrator, Public Works, Police Department, And there's an agreement with UNH to lease these spaces, plus the sense of the staff that parking is needed. So, I mean, it's not an absolutely definitive decision, but I think we're, 80%, not 85% chance the town probably would not be willing to relinquish that parking for a new driveway. But, we haven't dug into it. If the applicant really wants to pursue it, we will meet, we'll look into all the details. We'll review the agreement with UNH and how this would affect your lot, and the staff, the town administrator will make a decision. But most likely, the town would not relinquish the spaces. So the question is, do you want to pursue that? We'll meet with you, we'll talk about it more. Would you only do the subdivision if you can create a separate driveway, or would you still do the subdivision if you share the existing access point?
Well, I think the general idea is, so he wants to build the new house out of the 75-foot buffer that the existing house is in, so which moves it over to the, I guess you call it the westerly side of the lot, over here within the confines of the zoning. So, and if that's the case, the best place to put the driveway is up on the westerly side down through here. So obviously we don't have house plans or could show you what the size of the house is, but if we use the existing driveway that comes in, which is down on this side here, we'd be creating a driveway that goes right through that 75-foot buffer, and it impacts it more. So, and plus it's a lot longer driveway, and it does, like I said, it does impact the area. So, but we are presently just looking at our options on what we can do and what we can't do. So I think it's definitely worth some discussion.
I agree, and I'm not speaking for the entire board here. I do want to get other people's opinions as to what the proper order of things should be. I mean, Mr. Barrett, do you think we could have both things occurring at the same time, where the board starts looking at the project?
Oh, sure. I don't see any problem accepting it. You have 65 days, but if, hopefully this would be resolved well before that, but if it takes longer, then it takes longer, and I'm sure the applicant would give an extension, because otherwise the project would have to be denied. But, of course, the staff and the board move expeditiously to address these.
Yes, I noticed
So
that.
you can accept it, you could schedule the public hearing for an upcoming meeting, and we can simultaneously look at the idea of another access point. Again, I think it's unlikely, but we'll certainly look at that with you.
Yeah, I think that would certainly be acceptable to do that.
But
Yes.
if we meet frequently enough that if we look at the time it would take to kind of resolve some of these things and kind of bake the proposal more thoroughly, and for the applicant to really decide. I mean, I like to know what it is we're, accepting as complete, and it just seems to me, I just wonder whether this really meets our standard for accepting it as complete and starting the clock running when we just don't really know what's going on.
I agree. Not knowing what the road access is going to be does kind of make it, it has open questions as to what the final project.
If it were going to be more than a
look at.
2-week wait,
So, but, I mean, how do others feel?
It seems to me that this is a pretty minor question where the driveway is. I mean, it's either going to be where the existing driveway is, or they're going to come to an agreement to put it in a new place. And along there, other than impacting the parking, I don't think it has much of an impact at all. The existing driveway runs all the way up through there. It goes through the wetland buffer most of the way. So if we say you have to use the existing driveway and hang a left, a common driveway, and then hang a left into that
Just go there.
parcel, I don't think that's
however
a big deal.
So here's the thing. That would be a conditional use.
Well, keep in mind, the lower part of where they're showing a wetland buffer is actually not a wetland buffer on the front lot, because that's based on a very small wetland in the front, so, which is exempt. So the wetland buffer, the only pertinent wetland buffer is actually on the adjacent parcel to the east.
Right,
So
but-
they're less constrained than it looks.
Except that the driveway goes all the way through it, and you can see right now, the existing wetland buffer from that goes through the
Yeah.
house right now. So if you were to rebuild the house and you had to connect your driveway from the existing driveway, that would be a conditional use
Yeah.
application.
Could I,
And if that's, ends up being the direction we're going, I would like that to be part of this approval of the subdivision, I would think, as opposed to making the applicant come back a second time.
can I ask Michael a question first? So Michael, you're saying that it's unlikely that the town would give up 3 parking spaces to allow this property owner to more intelligently build a driveway, forcing him to stay in a wetland?
No, it's not in a wetland.
Well, not a wetland, but a buffer. Forcing him to stay in a buffer, where, why not just take up the space that the present driveway is using to fill in those parking spaces?
Because we still
good
use
idea.
That for the other.
we'd have 2 driveways.
You have 2 driveways.
Because
Okay,
the
is that
existing driveway would be used for the rear lot.
Oh, they couldn't just go straight up? I think they have options as to what they could do.
Also, the spaces are leased.
Well,
Yeah.
then they just create new spaces and lease those spaces.
So,
Where
Mr.
their driveway is.
No, you-
Where the original driveway is.
No,
Oh,
you
you're
can't do
saying
that.
you want to make
Don't need to
that a
have the
shared
driveway to
driveway,
get
but
to the
it's 2
second.
driveways.
It's going to be 2 separate driveways, not one new driveway.
Oh, so they're going to keep the one in the wetlands?
The old, yes.
Or the wet-
The one, the
setback?
existing driveway would serve the rear lot, but the front lot, the house is going to get moved, and as part of getting
And it's gonna
moved, they
be
want to
over
have a
there,
second
where the-
driveway.
Where the.
So it's not a new, it's a second, it's not a replacement driveway, it's a second driveway.
I don't know, it just seems like I would be having some
So I just
conversation with
haven't,
the town.
so further, it's not that I'm hostile to the subdivision or want to delay.
No, I'm
I
sorry.
apologize, go ahead.
Gary?
It's not that I'm hostile to the subdivision, it just seems like 2 weeks is this is going to be an active 2 weeks to let this issue percolate a little bit and get resolved. I didn't hear the applicant, to Darrell's point, I didn't hear the applicant say, oh, we're going to do this regardless of the outcome. On the contrary, I just heard the applicant say that doing it without having a second driveway didn't make a lot of sense to them. So I didn't, which I understand, but there's some decision-making, I think, to be.
Yeah, and I think the other thing too is, eventually, they're going to be obviously two separate lots. And, when you have a shared driveway, if you don't get along with somebody, the other person, it's like, who's gonna plow the end of the driveway? Who's gonna maintain it, So this takes that conflict right off the table, right off the bat.
It's 2 weeks for someone to come up perhaps with a creative solution that involves also the lease of the parking spaces, which could perhaps be revisited.
So I was
don't
kind of
know.
thinking
I
that
think-
this is all, with the driveway and stuff, it would be all part of the driveway permit
No, and
application and that process. So,
on almost any other property in town, you would have been absolutely correct. But because those parking spaces are contractually obligated to a third party right now, there's an issue.
yeah,
And as someone who parks in one of those 3 spots quite often,
He's willing to
they're
give it
always
up.
full. They're always full.
They are always full.
So it's kind of prime parking for that end of campus. So
well,
I don't know if
the
UNH
question comes
will
down,
give them up
it's either 2 or 3
willingly.
spaces. I think we could probably get away with just 2 spaces, and tell you to,
Yeah, I think it's,
but
Is the town's position that this is a contractual problem with removing these 2 or 3 spaces from the lease? Or is there some, I guess if I were to look at like the revenue derived from 2 spaces versus the revenue derived from a net new building, I would think that one outweighs the other. So is it a contractual issue?
Yes.
Well,
Yes.
it's because they're
Purely,
leased,
or
they
is
can't
it
be taken
some other
out.
issue?
It's both, yeah. I mean, even though the spaces are, I believe that the lease is old, and we will review it again, get the particulars. But my understanding is that it's a lot, this stretch of Stratford Avenue is leased, it's town road, leased to UNH for UNH's exclusive use. So it probably would require some change to the agreement, but it's also, even though it's generally used by UNH, probably occasionally town residents might use it as well. So it's also just a broader concern about parking capacity. So the town administrators, it was more than an initial response. I mean, his basic response was, this is not something that we would support. But it was not definitive, it was not exhaustive analysis, we didn't look at options for the applicant, we didn't dig into the agreement. So the applicant certainly has the right to meet with us, and we'll dig into it. And then we will ask the town administrator to make a final decision. But I think that, as I say, likely would be no, but we'll certainly meet with you and, look at it.
Yeah, as far as the revenue and stuff, I know those parking spaces, particularly there, are not metered. It's just by permit.
It's a permit, yeah.
So it's not like each one's generating,
Well, the permits are
Yeah.
then paid on a semester basis.
Yep.
They generate revenue.
So-
I'm sorry.
So, Mr. Yeoman, could you come up with an alternative plan that has a shared driveway that you could get comfortable with? And then you could say, okay, you're going to have to tear up that sidewalk. There's a sidewalk there, right?
No.
No.
No sidewalk?
On that side.
Nope.
it's just
So
grass.
if you had 2 plans, one that shows 2 curb cuts and one that only shows 1, that would be helpful maybe. And if maybe when you explore that, it's not a big deal to have a shared driveway.
Yeah, well, I mean, we can most
That's a
certainly.
way over the obstacle
do-
that is in front of you right now.
I'll have to say from where I sit, I vote, I hate to have 2 parking spots jam up something when it looks like there's forward progress being made somewhere. So to me, on the surface, and of course, I'm not at the detail level, just on the surface from what I hear, having a case where it's 2, maybe 3 parking spots on this street, that having it jam up long-term, forever, the access point of another driveway seems to me to not clearly, at least for me, weigh in the right direction.
And again, for our decision as whether to accept the application is complete, my issue is not that I'm hostile to the subdivision or that I don't agree with Mr. McManus. It's just that if you ask me, is this application complete for consideration and scheduling a public hearing, my answer is no. It's not, because there's an open issue that's too material.
When we review
Acceptance doesn't mean that issues are resolved. It just means that the applicant's provided the necessary information to do formal application.
Right,
It's not like
I don't
we're.
believe that's the
I'd like
case
to,
either.
so when doing subdivisions, lot frontage and access to the roads are one of the things we're supposed to look at, correct?
Yeah.
So when we approve this subdivision at whatever point, exactly what does that mean with regards to road access?
If this subdivision is approved, then all of this will have to be clear as part of that approval. This will not be approved with any of these questions out there. It will be, if it's approved, it will be very clear whether there will be a second access, whether there'll be a shared driveway, how that shared driveway might be modified, the easement for that driveway, and any other easements. So there shouldn't be any questions left once it's approved.
Okay, so I know how Gary is thinking. I'm like I could see several different ways of going forward we could do as Gary suggests, which is not accept the application just yet until things get worked out to give everybody time. We could move forward, but I'm not sure that scheduling a public hearing 2 weeks down the road gives a sufficient time for all this stuff to get cleaned up and then re-presented as a proper package if it changes. So I'd be looking at scheduling a public hearing a month out or more. And so, I mean, those are the two main ways that I see us potentially proceeding tonight. What do people think? What do other people think?
What are you
Julian?
trying to act?
It might be partly my hearing and my processing of what I'm hearing, but I still don't understand why the current driveway cannot access both lots to the satisfaction of the applicant. That's the first thing. Then I have two stupid questions. One, might it be possible for the applicant to work out with the town an arrangement by which some of these parallel parking spaces become diagonal spaces so that there be no loss of spaces if they really need to have the driveway come in on the left-hand side, as we see on this. Could the applicant give some land to the town to allow diagonal parking? And the second stupid question is, might it be appropriate to have a site walk so we can see what the, understand better what the problem is from the point of view of the applicant in terms of where the driveway is going to be for the front lot? So.
It's actually not a stupid question. It's a very, very good question.
So I think to answer one of your questions about putting in maybe angled parking. So there is a detention area of sorts, and the grading. Today I kind of actually looked at this a little bit, and it's the grading out here because it just dives down. I'm not sure if it'd be possible. I didn't have a lot of time to go through it, but I don't think that can work that well there in that spot for angle parking, or even if you came into the lot. So
Does it slope up or down?
down,
Slopes down.
yeah, and that's where the drainage goes.
Yeah. Could some of the drainage be moved to another part of the lot?
No, not this, because it looks like it takes some of the road drainage as well.
Okay.
So,
Well, thank you for that.
and I don't see it on the easterly side of the lot out front here. I don't see any room really to even put two or three spaces. But I mean, it's something we can certainly look at. But I think the general consensus for, if you have your own lot, you want your own driveway access, so you don't have to deal with somebody else. But that's my opinion anyways, so.
But reasonable people might be able to.
Yeah, I mean, it's not unheard of.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Are you planning to sell one lot or both lots?
Oh, it doesn't.
The idea is to make them so they can be
I'm
separated.
sorry, I can't hear.
Yeah, the idea is to have them be able to be sold to separate families.
Yes.
Right, so,
Yeah.
because right now, if someone wants to buy one, they have to buy both, and that's not really practical for young families, so.
Well, cannot a contract be made that if you can buy the back lot, you have to share the one driveway? If you buy the front lot, you have to share the one driveway and work out the plowing and other issues.
It's an
Well,
easement.
that's a totally separate
It's
issue.
a simple easement.
That's
But
it.
we're
All right,
trying to
Rob, you
problem
had
solve,
something?
we don't need to be problem solving.
Thank you.
I think the application could be accepted as complete, and these guys, if they want to stay on the timeline, they just need to work the problem hard for 2 weeks, get the answers we need, and if they can't come to the answers, then we're going to ask them later to,
Yeah, because
Delay.
we could always continue, right?
yeah.
Yeah, you can carry it on as long as you
I don't see this as
Yeah.
a good reason
Yeah,
to
we
not
have
accept
no
it.
problem continuing if we haven't got all the information for you guys.
And as Paul noted, you might need a conditional use. If the driveway, if the area within that 75-foot buffer toward the front is altered at all, if there's any new utilities you were to add, or if the driveway is expanded in any place, then you would need a conditional use.
Yeah, so
which you can do simultaneous with the subdivision.
Right.
But I just want people to know, we may be seeing, and it's possible that you would need an application as we get into.
Yeah, there'd definitely be new disturbance in the wetland buffer zone here if you brought another driveway in through here. So you're going right through, it's new disturbance.
Yeah.
So, like I said, which we were trying to avoid.
You're
You know.
already bringing a disturbance there, though. You're bringing in utilities.
It's all existing. So
You're going to demo
here's
that building
a
and
service
trash
here
the
that
whole
we would.
place. The whole
You
place
take
is going to
that
be
whole-
trashed in the demo. You don't kid yourself that you're not going to destroy everything within the footprint of that building and adjacent to it.
Right, but that's already built
Disturbed,
area,
yeah. This whole area is
Yeah, so
disturbed.
the driveway change is going to be negligible compared to the act of the demolition and removing that foundation. It's a big mess.
Well,
you're gonna make.
these are above-ground utilities here, right? Or below ground?
Yeah, the sewer and water line are
Those
buried.
would be below,
Yeah.
those are buried, okay.
And then the
Yeah, so the electric
service
service comes through here.
And the electric's coming in that way?
Yeah.
Oh,
To build a house there, the entire buildable footprint is going to be disturbed in
All
the
right.
process.
Right, that's why the proposed location for the new building is in the northwest corner of the lot, which is outside of the buffer.
Right, so the driveway, whether it's one driveway or two, it's going to be the same disturbance.
Well, if they
in both
take,
cases.
when he takes this out, is, obviously it'd be planted with, somebody's gonna want a yard there.
okay.
Yeah, I'd say almost certainly you will need a conditional use either way, so plan on that. And
Okay.
likewise, the subdivision, the conditional use would have to be approved as part of the subdivision.
Okay.
Does it need to be approved as part of this, or is it something they could do later?
Almost certainly it should be done at the same time because it will affect how the easements and driveway and utilities, yeah.
All right.
So once you know a little more, we'll be in contact. You'll need to submit that.
I mean, the only question that is up in the air really is the driveway question, right? Is everybody else comfortable with this
Yeah,
whole notion?
Are we, it sounds like we're ready to accept. Daryl?
Could I make one other suggestion? When this plan comes back, remove the wetland buffer that's shown around that small wetland that doesn't qualify. So it's not confusing which
You understand
buffer
about
we're
what
talking
we're talking
about.
about, Mr. Getman?
Yep,
Okay.
I got you. Yep.
Julian?
Okay, I agree with Rob's suggestion, but I have a very quick question for the applicant. I would like to walk along your driveway with your permission to see the topography, just along the driveway.
I'm not sure what you're going to see under 2 feet of snow right now.
No, the driveway is not under 2 feet of snow, is it?
No,
No, you can see the
plowed,
driveway.
yeah.
So I could park on the street and walk in the drive. I'd like to do that before we have a public hearing.
So would this be a site walk or, I mean, is this?
Well, it could either be a group site walk or the board, or, sir, if you were comfortable, you could just give your permission now for any individual member to walk down the driveway.
Yeah, I'd just like to know in advance so I can let the occupants be aware someone might be walking around, that's all.
Well, leave us with your email address or your telephone, and we can
Maybe we should wait
contact
and
you.
just do that, decide if it should be a formal
We should just, yeah, I
walkthrough.
think we should just wait and have a site walk.
That makes more sense, I think.
Okay. Then, let's move to accept the.
May I have one?
We do. Let's go around again. Gary?
We have a question here.
Yes, Gary?
Yes, my question is, are you prepared to tell us now whether you want the subdivision, regardless of whether a mechanism is found that will allow you to put in a second driveway?
That's, the driveway issue's really under review. I'm not sure that there's a viable subdivision without an independent driveway, but I don't have enough information to make that decision at this point in time.
Thank you.
Richard?
So I think Julian's idea might have merit, because that's the wetland that is not a wetland, right? That's the wetland that's under 3,000 square feet?
Yes.
The one that
Yeah, out
runs
front.
parallel?
Out front here.
Yeah.
Yeah, the wetlands are right here, so this buffer will come back here somewhere.
It'll be, no, it'll be.
Right, but you still have that one to the right there that's just right next to the driveway. So when you do that fresh arc, you can see how that arc is cutting, so you can almost visualize where it's going.
Yeah, this here is, that's under 3,000 feet here.
Yeah, that's not the one I'm talking about. Which idea of Julian's are you talking about, Richard?
Julian talked about putting some angled parking in there instead. And yeah, it looks to me like you can actually get an additional spot by doing that. And I understand there's cost associated with that, but that gives you your two driveways. And the town and the university aren't losing much-needed parking in that area. I recognize that there is a cost associated with that. You'd need a retaining wall, you would need fill, you'd probably need some sort of guardrail of some sort to prevent someone from going over that wall. That's gonna be what? What's the contour interval on your plan, sir?
10 feet delta there.
1 foot, yeah. That's a significant
That's a good drop there.
endeavor there. Yep. But it preserves the parking, gives you your separate driveway. So it does have merit. It may be costly, but
But it may be worth it.
that's what you want, because the lot historically has been a single lot with a single driveway with 2 dwelling units on it.
All right. Anybody else? All right, so we have 3 things potentially to do, which is accept the application, set a public hearing, and set potentially a site walk.
Bingo.
So we can take them one at a time just to keep them simple. Let's start with I'll move that we accept the application as complete.
I second.
Well, could we hold a public hearing on the 25th, or do you want to go out a month? Why not just grab it both here? How much time do you want before a public hearing?
I mean, like I said earlier, we can schedule for the 25th, and, you know, if we haven't reached all the parties and everything, then we can always continue, right?
Do you have to renotice, though?
No,
No.
you could just schedule and it'll be continued.
We effectively renotice it during the meeting.
Oh, I see. All right. So everyone, would you be good with that?
No.
Friendly amendment on the 25th, you don't like that?
No, I got nothing to say about
Oh.
it.
Public hearing on the 25th. Oh,
I would
that's our next
second
meeting,
that
right?
friendly amendment.
Yeah.
What's that?
I would second that friendly amendment.
Yeah, all right.
All right. Yeah, okay.
So the motion on the floor is to accept the application as complete and public hearing on the 25th. And just to confirm, the applicant's good with that as well?
Yes.
All right, great.
All right.
Somebody
And
second.
it was seconded by Rob. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
No? And
Gary,
I'd just like to make a statement.
Go ahead.
The reason for my no is that the only feasible option for subdivision of the lot has not been accepted by the applicant as something they certainly want to do.
All right.
All right. Now,
Now,
So-
sidewalk.
So, yeah.
site walk. Do we want a site walk?
Yeah, I think we do.
Yeah, I think we need one right before.
All right. So that would be, Do we want to try for Saturday again, or do we think we'll hit another snowstorm?
Oh, jeez.
That was the
Saturday.
last snowstorm of the season, the one we just had today.
No, there's another.
Yeah, I wish. I'm tired.
We're not even halfway through February yet. All right. Would February 21st work for you?
That's the Saturday.
That would be the Saturday before the next meeting.
Not this Saturday, the following Saturday.
Yeah, this week, this Saturday's Valentine's Day. We won't do a site walk on Valentine's Day.
Yeah, you could always hold hands going through the. Yeah, the 21st is fine.
21st, and does 10 a.m. work?
Afternoon would be better, but
Afternoon would
I can
be-
make that work if
Like
necessary.
what, 1 o'clock?
Yeah, that would be fine.
So 1 o'clock?
I won't be able to make that, and I wonder if you might tell your renters, your leasers, your clients, that a strange, short, fat guy would be there in the morning on the 21st.
Would
that be all right?
We can probably do that, yeah. It's
All
just
right, great.
I won't be able to be there.
Thanks.
We're saying 1 a.m., is that what I caught?
PM.
Yeah, PM.
1 a.m. sounds good.
The 1 a.m. is only after a couple of days.
Okay. You're in my calendar. All right, we will see you then on the 20, is there anything more for the applicant before we release them? All right. we
Can
will
I-
s-
I'm
Yes,
sorry.
Peyton?
Just one more question, just on this, because I'm sort of like very surprised at this state that we're in. That the fact that there's been an agreement on parking and that bundle of rights that the town is using, then is creating an issue for a driveway. So is there a normal process to remediate this, like payment in lieu, or, we're going to take, I guess this is the first time I've seen this, and I'm sort of kind of shocked by it, I think, that there's a side agreement and now it's jamming up something that's someone else's, has some rights too. So is there some process in place so that when this takes place, that there's a normal, is this just a purely administrative issue here? Or is there a structured way to say, well, we're going to take 2 parking spaces, or we need 2 parking spaces, so therefore there's going to be some other thing that's going to take place here? Or is it just an administrative that we're not going to do that?
Well, it's the decision of the town administrator who's overseeing this town asset, Stratford Avenue and the parking.
Public asset, correct?
Yeah. And certainly, he, as I say, I don't think he's made a final decision, but he's indicated certainly the town's inclination here, strong inclination. So we will get together, town administrator, public works, police, planning, and we'll take a look at it, and happy to talk with the applicant. Yeah.
But I guess, Peyton, one way to think about it might be like the guy who wanted to put the other curb cut on Madbury Road that went around the building. He had to pay for all that change on the curb and all that. And this, who knows, that was obvious because it was like you're tearing up the sidewalk. This is just another version of this. Like, here's a change that's happening. It's got an impact on the town. The developer pays for that change. And I don't know what 2 parking lots is worth, but if it was $10 of revenue a year, we'd probably say, forget it, it's not worth playing with. But if it was thousands, then that might be a different answer. So I'm just trying to think, it's the application is driving this negative
Yeah, I'm just
to the
wondering
town.
if there's
Yeah.
what's the normal process? Because you, and I'm not going to say, you can imagine a scenario where it's just another denial by parking. Well, you're going to take up 2 parking spots,
Yeah.
so therefore, you can't do it. I would say on the face of that seems very difficult for me to swallow, I think.
But you missed Rob's point, though, I think, Peyton. That is that if the applicant wants to do something that impacts the town, he has to mitigate that impact.
Oh, I'm completely, and then I was,
Let me finish.
I'm sorry.
And so in his case, it was, the curb cut, you had to fix the curb. In this case, it's interfering with 2 parking places and an MOU with UNH that is a much broader agreement than just those 2 parking places that has to be revisited.
Agreed,
So-
and then that was my original question is there a process in place to structurally figure out what the costs are associated here if the town was going to pass those on? That was my question.
And I mean, keep in mind, if this was, there is an alternative, and it's the existence of the town's parking spaces. If this was, for example, a vacant lot, and it was the whole frontage had town parking, and the owner decided, well, I'm now going to find ready to build, we would have to accommodate that in some reasonable way. But given that this is an existing developed lot with an existing access, then the town has some discretion here.
So these guys got some homework, go figure out the driveway thing. And Michael's got some homework, go figure out the
Design some,
Driveway thing.
the driveway thing.
some diagonal parking that
All right.
takes it up.
Anything more?
Nope.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
All right, so our next item will be a public hearing for the rezoning of 10 Cowell Drive. Proposed rezoning of 10 Cowell Drive, map 108, lot 27, from Residence A to Churchill District, owned by Jeff Berlin, Berlin Properties. All right, so we're just going to, do we need to do anything before we swing into the public hearing?
No, unless you have questions for the applicant or the applicant wishes to convey something. Or if for the public hearing, you need some quick presentation to explain what's being contemplated.
Did the applicant hear that?
Well, he's not really the applicant in this case, right? This is something that the board acts as the
Yeah.
thing. So, so we have, the planning board held a site walk last Saturday with several of us attended. And minutes have been distributed for the evaluating whether or not or to view this, how do I put this? To gather the information to determine the suitability of this property with regards to its proper zone. So I think we just open the public hearing and maybe would just be a little more forthcoming. So I'll move that we open the public hearing.
My second.
Seconded by Rob. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Who would like to speak first? So state your names and address and speak into the microphone, please.
Great. Hi, Erin Sharp, 20 Cowell Drive. My husband, Andrew Sharp, is here with me, and we've lived at 20 Cowell Drive for 17 years, and I am glad that you did the site walk. As I think about our neighborhood, it's a little pocket neighborhood of all single-family homes tucked back behind the post office, and it's got only one entry. It's a dead end, and so any car that enters Cowell Drive has to turn around to come out Cowell Drive. And though we have the post office there, all of the homes are single-family homes. It's a family neighborhood. There are young children, there are families, there are older adults, and I think the most important issue for us other than it just being clearly residential, is the safety of that road. It's a very narrow road. You actually have very poor visibility. Right now with snow, really only one car can safely get down the road. I have a 17-year-old driver who I have to remind every day to go slowly, because if there's a pedestrian walking on that road, the first curve you come around, you cannot see around the curve. And so, as I understand the Churchill district, it's kind of thought of as a buffer district between, visibility of Main Street when you're clearly approaching a downtown in the business district. And I don't think that zoning fits this home or the neighborhood in which the home is in. So I ask that we maintain the zoning at residential, and maintaining that property, it will preserve its character, the safety, and the livability of this really unique pocket neighborhood of single-family homes. So, thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair Rasmussen and members of the board. My name is David Richmond, 16 Cowell Drive. We have been there for 38 years now, and I would like the neighborhood in which we have raised our young family, young at the time, 38 years ago, to be as attractive and as safe as it was when we were raising our family there. I am concerned, repeating what Aaron said, about the very high probability of wilder and faster traffic on that difficult road. I'm afraid that the chances of elderly and disabled people being injured by traffic, I take that very personally, might happen. I'm also afraid for the possible traffic injuring children, perhaps walking to school. When I came to this neighborhood 38 years ago, I was hoping that I would be able to walk to work at UNH. I didn't realize I was moving to a place where people didn't believe in sidewalks and where the streets were not straight, so I couldn't walk to work. Luckily, UNH had the wonderful access transport. I did walk my young daughter to school every day for that first year. I was terrified, but I did it. I don't think I could do that today, and I'm certain that I could not do that if this proposed zoning change goes through. So I am particularly concerned with the attractiveness of the neighborhood, and most especially with the safety of the neighborhood. Thank you.
I'm Susan Richmond, 16 Cowell Drive, and thank you again, Chair Rasmussen and members of the Planning Board. So we urge you to keep the property at 10 Cowell Drive zoned as Residence A, RA. A change to Church Hill zoning goes beyond whatever plans the current property owner, Jeff Berlin, hopes to accomplish, that the Church Hill zoning will permit new uses for the property into perpetuity for any future owners. According to the Durham zoning ordinance amended July 7, uses could include professional offices, limited retail, senior housing, art center, daycare, library, museum, religious use, manufacturing, office, restaurant, retail store, small, and any of those uses would change the character of this family neighborhood and put more strain on the dangerous traffic patterns that both David and Aaron talked about leaving Cowell Drive. So the character of Cowell area pocket neighborhood, we've lived there 38 years. It was a fabulous neighborhood for raising children, safe from traffic, easy walking distance to school and to downtown businesses where the kids all like to gather for ice cream, which is, I guess, yay, happened. We've got ice cream again. Other families have moved into the neighborhood for the same reason. And most recently, a family moved in July 2025, expecting that this is a family neighborhood. 6 of the families still have school-aged children. Some of them are toddlers. The neighborhood is less safe for them when there are screeching motorcycles or moped riders racing up and down Cal Drive, and it's also less pleasant when beverage containers and food wrappers are left on the ground and in the bushes, and when loud music plays from mid-morning to late night. And I guess I could add when you smell marijuana or when people are up on the roof drinking, it's not a good model for the kids to see. The number of multiple tenant houses has increased and decreased over the years, but at the moment there are 6 of those, and I know that one of those houses has 8 residents and another has 7, and I don't know how many are in the others. But does the Durham Planning Board seek to keep Durham neighborhoods family-friendly? Because deep-pocketed investment owners outbid families when a property becomes available, because there's so much money to be gotten from having a multi-resident rental property, and that makes it harder to keep the traditional character of our neighborhood, because a single family cannot outbid an investor owner. And this is a special concern. Well, I'm not going to talk about the proposal that Jeff Berlin has, because I realize that's not what you're thinking about now. I just want to talk a little bit more about traffic. You've got cars that are coming from 108 in the east, Main Street in the west. They merge onto Madbury, but then within about 10 feet, there's the post office exit. So that adds to the confusion. And then in another 15 feet, a pedestrian crossing, and then about 5 feet more to the entrance to Cowell, and where drivers could proceed up the hill of Cowell Drive or turn into the post office parking lot, but they don't necessarily signal their intent, so you've got to factor in the uncertainty of what is happening at all times, and that the turn into the post office parking lot is a very wide turn. So going perpendicular to those people turning are the pedestrians, many of them middle school students going to or coming back from school. And given how distracting it is to navigate this traffic confusion, it's truly astonishing and wonderful, but not guaranteed, that no one has yet been hurt. And additionally, during commuter hours, it's extremely difficult to exit Cowell, and frustrating. And, and then if one car stops for you and the others don't realize why they are, that also can be a hazard. And as has been said, walking along Cowell can be dangerous because of the hill and the turn in the road just above 12 Cowell. So drivers often are not expecting a pedestrian presence. A few other thoughts, independent of Mr. Berlin's proposals, is that Churchill requires a pedestrian sidewalk along the front of a Churchill building, but there are no sidewalks in the neighborhood, so I don't know how you would manage that. Who would be responsible for putting a sidewalk, and would be limited just on that house or others? Also, the master plan doesn't permit spot zoning. So it says, this is just the one house, just number 10. But if number 10 is viewed as somehow a continuation of Churchill, and then there will be structures that it faces and abuts. So if number 10 Cowell Drive is rezoned, what would prevent number 12 or number 3 from then being subsequently rezoned as abutters to a rezoned property number 10? So, is there the slippery slope? So then finally, Durham, like all neighborhoods, faces a shortage of housing for middle-income families. The ability of an investment owner to put a maximum number of paying renters onto their bit of property makes it worthwhile for prospective landlords to outbid would-be family owners. And so please do not rezone number 10 Cowell Drive. We are currently zoned Resident A, and we are please protect the residential character of our neighborhood and the opportunity for families to raise their children here. And thank you for your time. And here's, I also included the various regulations that you probably have on email. Pass it over. Thank you.
I think it's the first time I've had to raise the microphone. Robin Mower, Britton Lane. I grew up in this town, and the world has changed a lot in many ways, obviously, since that point. But the pocket neighborhood of Cowell Drive, Sour Terrace, and Glassford Lane was a lovely, single-family home neighborhood. There's a big difference between single-family neighborhoods when people take care of yards and their property in a way that makes it attractive for people who visit, who drive through, and so forth. There's a cohesiveness, there's a community, and I think one of the questions the planning board must address is, what is your vision for the downtown neighborhoods? Do you really care about them, or are you going to let them start changing in ways that then they lose those very characters that makes them attractive? I've heard this planning board talk about the neighborhood on Churchill with a sense that the people who live there now don't really matter as much as what you see for the future. And I think that's an unfortunate approach. I think we need to focus also on the people who live here in Durham now, not just what could happen if you start changing too many things to make it unattractive for people to live in those downtown neighborhoods. So yes, there is a domino effect that I believe Rob addressed at your last meeting, and I didn't hear anybody sort of pick up on that, but we've clearly seen that. On the other hand, Susan Richmond just pointed out that there's been a sort of ebb and flow of types of occupancy of the properties there. Paul, you've bought a house that, and you, in a sense, changed it back to a single-family home, if I understood that correctly from, hearsay. So that's an example. But I really do think it's a big picture question about what your vision is for the downtown neighborhoods. So I would say definitely I'm not in favor of rezoning this parcel. And I thank you.
Beth Olshansky, Packers Falls Road, so I'm not in the neighborhood, but a lot of people know my backyard goes to the boundaries of the whole town. I care about what's happening, and I'm just curious, this is not a public hearing for a specific proposal, but could you just publicly share how this concept came about? Why are we discussing this?
So the reason this came about is the current owner wants to redevelop that property and is faced with two options, effectively. The first one is to create a large single-family home with lots and lots of bedrooms, which would then, effectively only service a small portion of the community as potential rental space. And the other option would be to create a building that has separate unit apartments inside, which would then be able to attract a wider selection of tenants. And that is the underlying reason for this rezoning, is to allow the second choice as opposed to being forced into the first one.
Is this considered a planning board initiated zoning change, or what?
Yes, it would be considered a planning board initiated zoning change.
Okay. Well, I'll just say, reflecting back over Durham's history, and not that long ago history, there's been a push for trying to protect our family neighborhoods and in some cases reclaim them. And I think that's been a big push at the council level to respect, and protect the families that choose to move and live in Durham. So I would hope that you'll listen to the voices of the people who actually live on Cowell Drive. Thank you.
Yeah, and I do want to follow up with Robin, because since she pointed out my moving into that neighborhood, 3 houses have changed hands since I did. 2 of them, all 3 had families, and now only 1 of them does. 2 of the others have become rentals for basically people's kids.
Yeah. Thank you.
My name is Nina Berlin, and I reside at 3 Cowell Drive, which is directly across the street from 10 Cowell. This past summer, talking about how this came into effect, the governor signed HB 1281, and my son Jeff, who owns 10 Cowell, came home extremely excited because, in his words, the housing market in Durham is now free. I didn't know what that meant. However, I can tell you what it meant to my son, is that Durham was now on the right track for the better. And I say this to let you know, he loves this town. From the time we moved here, he has loved this town. And knowing him the way I do, I can say for sure, Jeff and his business will be here for the rest of his life. His motivations are in good faith, and he's committed to fulfilling what he set out to do, which is explicitly to affect the supply of housing in Durham. So it was only a few days after the bill was signed, and he started planning an expansion at 10 Cowell into a full-blown rooming house with 16 bedrooms, 10 bathrooms for 32 students. My initial reaction was, do you hate me? I live across the street. But after explicit conversations, I found out that he didn't want to build that rooming house, but that's all he was allowed under the current law and current zoning. He was also afraid that you would skirt around the law, get it repealed, so he was in a bit of a rush to get going to affect housing. What he then explained was something that made sense to me. He wanted to put up an attractive building with studios and 1-bedrooms. Over the next few weeks, myself and a few others were able to convince him to speak to you all and see if they could change the zoning to allow this use instead of a rooming house. I'm a bit confused about the process, but I'll say a few things about where I hope this goes and why. Last fall, myself and another Durham resident had the opportunity to speak with a young single employee at Alcu located at 1 Madbury Road, Suite 101. This gentleman expressed frustration that there was no sufficient housing opportunities for professionals other than student rentals. He expressed a desire to be in an area close to downtown and to his workplace. I've also heard of some elderly people who would love to live in a studio or a 1-bedroom closer to town, if one existed. Our town professes to be inclusive and diverse, yet many areas which are lacking and could use, yet it has many areas which are lacking and could use some fresh insight and creativeness to revitalize Durham. The idea of building out 30 apartments of studios and 1-bedrooms with underground and surface parking is significantly better than a trashy rooming house at the beginning of a nice pocket neighborhood. Not that it would be trashy, but it'd be a rooming house. It would also fit in with the actual desire of the current non-student renter. However, you need to make this happen. I ask that you do it. Thank you.
Jeff Berlin, 3 Cowell Drive. Somebody said that the width of Cowell at the beginning is very narrow. And
Could you speak a little louder?
yeah, sure. Sorry, Julian.
Yeah, thank you.
The width of Cowell at the bend between 10 and 3 is very thin, someone said today. And I just want to point out that I was trying to point out at the last hearing that the actual town right-of-way can accommodate way more than just a sidewalk. It can accommodate shrubbery, it can accommodate landscaping, and my front yard doesn't start for like 10 I mean, from the road, you guys saw the sidewalk, it's pretty far up there, so it can accommodate all those things. Thank you.
Robin Mower again. Just a quick question. Michael, would you please explain why this would not be considered spot zoning when a change would be made for a specific single parcel? Thank you.
Well, spot zoning is an illegal measure when a small area, generally, often it's one parcel, could be a small parcel, large parcel, is rezoned by a local government, and there is good reason to believe that the rezoning is not based on good planning, and is not consistent with the master plan, the intent of the zoning ordinance, but is specifically done to assist one particular, or could be two or three, but generally one particular property owner, independent of what makes sense given the surroundings. So you suspect spot zoning when you see one parcel zoned, or if you see a small area zone when it's zoned differently from what's around it. So if you, for example, in the middle of, if you look at the zoning map over there, the map on the top, and you've got a large yellow area that's Residence A, and right in the middle of that, you rezone a 1 acre lot to central business, totally inconsistent with what's around it, clearly not harmonious with the intent of it. That is obviously spot zoning. So, but where there is, where a proposed rezoning can reasonably be defended, it may not be the best decision, may or may not be the right decision, but where it can be, where it's clearly being considered in terms of good planning and consistent with what's around it, that's not spot zoning. So this rezoning this one lot, even though it's one lot, would not be spot zoning because it's, there's Churchill zone on 3 sides, and there's good reasons to do it. I'm not saying that the right decision is to rezone it. There's arguments both ways, which the planning board is going to discuss. But it's not. It would be legal. It would not be spot zoning because it could be justified on planning grounds. Julian?
I have a question for Michael. After we close the public hearing and begin our discussion, it would be useful if you had some way of putting up the downtown zoning map on the screen, so we be easy to see what we actually mean by Churchill zoning. I mean, we can see it on the map over there, but you think you could put something up on the screen later?
I'm sure one of my compatriots can.
Or one of, yeah. I can't.
Do we want the map that we have, or the
Yeah,
whole?
There's a pretty good one in the GIS where you can just turn on the overlay for zoning.
Yeah. I have my cell phone turned off, so I can't get to it on my smartphone.
Are you looking for it?
But we can do that
actually
later.
might have something that works.
Okay.
Do we have any more for the public hearing?
It's okay to comment twice.
Sure.
So I'll just share that we are very supportive of housing being developed in Durham. We were very supportive of the Madbury Commons and other housing development downtown, and very supportive of the developments on the west edge of town. This is a neighborhood. When we moved, understanding what I do about the Churchill district and where it sits and the reasoning for it, this is a little pocket neighborhood, and now that I know a little bit more about the plans, I just want to emphasize the safety piece and the traffic piece even more. There was a time several years ago where Oyster River decided that instead of driving the school bus down Cowell Drive to pick up our children, that it made more sense for it to stop on Madbury Road by the post office. The first day, it caused a 3-car accident while our kids were on the bus. The bus stopped. We were sitting there waiting. A car flew around the bus and hit 2 parked cars downtown. So I can't even imagine managing parking and more traffic on that little narrow way. So thank you for allowing me to just speak again.
All right. Are we ready to close the public hearing?
Going once, going twice?
Oh, wait, there's one more.
Susan Richmond, Cal Drive. If this could be allowed to be just elderly housing, which I know is a Churchill option, so that we don't have motorcycles and loud music, and I don't know
Sorry,
how.
I didn't hear you.
Once it's zoned,
You don't
any
know.
allowed uses would be permitted.
Yeah.
We can't change the zoning and put additional restrictions on. That would be creating a new zone, which would be spot zoning.
Okay, so that's the concern that,
And the multifamily is now allowed by right as per the state as well as Durham's zoning.
right, okay, thank you, sorry.
Where, Sally? Elaborate more on that, just so we're all clear.
Because Churchill is considered a commercial zone.
Right.
In Churchill only.
It's allowed by right in
Yeah,
Churchill, not in
Churchill.
RA.
Not in RA, but in Churchill, if it was changed to Churchill.
Okay. I'll move that we close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Sorry, Gary.
Opposed? All right. Deliberation. Thoughts?
And I have the GIS up that's a slightly
You like it
higher
better?
fidelity rendering if you want.
Go for it.
Sure.
What day's trash day, Paul? Is it Monday?
Tuesday.
Tuesday. So Tuesday, I went down there, I had some business at the post office, missed the site walk on Saturday, so drove around the neighborhood. And when I was leaving, there wasn't enough room as I went up over the hill with the trash truck coming in. And I'm sure it had a lot to do with the snowbanks, all right? And, no?
No, that top area there, because of the parking spaces.
Well, that's where I had to move into. I had to
Right.
go
So
into a
that
parking stall.
creates a one-lane bridge type effect,
Yeah.
which anybody who's familiar with the road going in and out has learned to deal with. But it's exasperated now because the snow is 3, 4, some places 5 feet into the road.
Right.
Because when they use the little trucks as opposed to the big trucks, the little trucks, the drivers are leaving just a lot more snow on the road.
And so yeah, this is the GIS rendering.
So can you get it centered more on Churchill?
Yeah, so here's Churchill.
You can get rid of that box there if you want, just exit out.
And
Okay.
so
And
this is Churchill.
That's Churchill. I would just scroll it down a little bit more,
right
and
there so we can
that's
see.
probably a good view.
And then this is the post office. Here's Tin Cow, and then Churchill coming up here, and then the rectory and the church here.
Which is professional office. That's where
Yeah,
professional
that's
office
correct.
starts.
So here's the sort of that's the zoomed in view, church surrounding it. And then, you know,
I know, you're going in and out there.
and then if we were to zoom out. So I can zoom in and out, and then
Okay.
this of course is the,
Zoom in like that.
you know, I wasn't able to take part in the walk because we had snow and I had 2 inches in my subdivision, so I wasn't able to make it out. But I'm very familiar with the area, and so this is visually the house, the post office, the church coming down and then coming down. And then pivoting around. Go back.
Yeah, what makes this road, several people mentioned how difficult it is for pedestrians on that road. So if you could just spin and look down the hill again, you'll see that you have the post office parking on the left, which doesn't allow for a sidewalk. And then you have the parallel parking, which is town parking, just like we were talking about in Stratford, on the right here, which goes all along the church property. And that's where, at least in my mind, where a sidewalk probably should have been put at some point. But they went with parking spaces instead.
Can have both.
Which, I mean, when the church has a ceremony, everything in there is filled for quite a distance. So it's not like it doesn't get used.
There's room there for both, Paul.
Yeah, I mean, if you took the grass, yeah, you could, but
The
it
town's
gets
right-of-way goes back well into that.
Yeah.
Probably 20
but that,
25 feet.
it is, but that's what's challenging, because pedestrians are forced to walk down the middle of the road.
Mr. Chairman, would it be possible for Peyton to put up the zoning map that's right over there, the top map, the paper map, where it's easier to see the color that Churchill is, I have a copy of this, but what I'd like us to be able to see is where the three separate portions of the Churchill zoning is. So, yeah. See,
I know that it's a little faded. I guess the color selection on the GIS is a little like.
See, the colors on that paper map there, or on this, is easier to see.
Yeah. Can you remove the topo layer?
No, I can't. There's a, can I, if you want to.
If you remove the topo layer, it might fix that.
Yeah.
Is it better?
So, and while that is going on, Mr. Chairman, I have not heard anything from at the public hearing that I would disagree with. I agree with everything everyone said, and I like to be agreeable. But
this is more just
once we have the discussion,
lesson.
I would like to hear what other members of the board have to say. And then I have about 6 comments I would like to make that are based on dealing with this kind of issue over many, many years. And also, as an old altar boy who back in the 60s used to read the gospel at St. Thomas More at the behest of my friend Father John Lawless, my friend and drinking companion when I was still a drinker. So I have some things to say about the zoning. But I'm going to wait until I hear from the rest of you. Thank you.
Maybe I could just let people know where I am on what I've heard so far and try to frame the issues. Hopefully it'll be helpful. So there's a trade-off between the desire, we can't, first of all, the backdrop is we can't stop Cowell Drive from changing because over time, the demand for rental or rooming houses, student rentals and rooming houses, nothing can be done to prevent people from buying up properties and turning them into rental housing.
I agree.
Right. And so the real question in my mind becomes, are the interests, I think when we rezone, we should pay very close attention to the character of the neighborhood and to the location of the rezoning. Here, it's designed seemingly, diabolically to make our jobs extremely difficult. Right.
Yeah.
Right. It couldn't be a more difficult call because it's exactly at the edge of the residential area. It is partially surrounded by Church Hill, and it's next to the post office. So it's entirely possible for me to envision that this, and notwithstanding the slippery slope argument, could be rezoned without making the inevitable change to the Cowell Drive neighborhood more rapid than it otherwise is going to be. That's part one. Part two is this area's infrastructure was never contemplated to be designed to support this increased density. So all of the arguments we hear about sidewalks, about traffic, all of them seem to be, we all know, since we drive in Durham, we all know that this is a very troublesome little spot and bottleneck. So if we contemplate a change which would create even greater density than something like a larger rooming house with that population, are we foreseeing the increased stress on the infrastructure and the increased the increased danger resulting from more traffic? Now, those are the issues that I see. And then I'll say then the third thing is, although it's increased density, it's exactly a kind of housing that we wish to support, right? Housing for young professionals, housing for people who do not want to live in a sort of a rooming house setting. So all of that would be desirable for downtown. But this is on the edge of downtown. It's not downtown, and therefore it doesn't have the infrastructure to support a lot of additional density unless planning is somehow undertaken. That would include, in my mind, I heard this mentioned on the site visit, people don't pay any attention to the pedestrian crosswalks frequently. Sometimes they do, but frequently they don't. So I'm sensitive to the issues. And so what I can think we should be really looking at is we should look hard at this infrastructure issue, and we should think carefully about how to balance these interests in a way and to learn whether it's possible to do a rezoning in a way that resolves some of these infrastructure issues of traffic safety, and maybe that requires some additional study by people who are more qualified than me just speculating about what it would mean in terms of the number of pedestrian car interactions. Now I'm just going first because I just wanted to kind of let people know where I am. But I'm entirely open-minded to your comments, Julie, and to everyone else's discussion. But I just wanted to kick things off with what the big picture issues that I see are.
Thank you, Gary.
I have a quick question for Gary and for the rest of the board. I agree with what you said, but would you agree, and would the rest of the board agree, that our state legislature has put us in a real bind by saying we cannot make decisions on the basis of relationship, or whether someone is a student or not a student, family relationships and so on?
Well, I'm not going to...
Doesn't that have us up against the wall?
Well, I just think it's, I don't want to complain about reality because it's a way of making yourself miserable. But the reality...
What's wrong with being miserable? Sometimes we have to be miserable.
But the reality is that we are prohibited from making decisions. We all know what the situation is. I mean, decisions
we could have made easily years ago.
Yeah, but I mean, I think the idea that we can somehow, first I wanted to shoot down in my mind, I don't think we can prevent this neighborhood from changing over time. Yeah.
Emma?
I have a question, and I don't want to derail things too much, but I'm curious about what is the process, and I guess whose jurisdiction is it to do things like add a stop sign or a crosswalk signal or blinking yellow or, things like that?
Those would go through the Traffic Safety Committee. We do have a representative on the Traffic Safety Committee. They meet irregularly, basically when they receive proposals. And the Director of Public Works is the chair of that committee. So you would send something to Rich Rain saying, I have something the Traffic Safety Committee would like to evaluate, and then it gets put on the agenda and they schedule a meeting.
And is there ever a case where something like this, a proposal for rezoning like this, would have some sort of stipulation that rezoning would only work if there was some sort of traffic mitigation?
I don't think those two would generally go together.
The rezoning is just an up or down vote.
It's on its own merits.
Yeah,
and-
but, you might say, well, I can't support it now, but if the town put in this improvement, I would, and then the powers that be could decide if they want to make that improvement, and then you could revisit the matter later. Or you could vote to rezone something with a recommendation or a hope that something else will be done.
Or if it were a bigger project, it might justify something like a TIF to get it done.
Well, if there's
Not in this area.
But not nearly big enough.
So
Not in this area, no.
I'm on the Traffic Safety Committee, and typically, so it's Rich Rainey is typically in charge of those meetings and the agenda, and then you also have the police department, you have the town administrator, there are some sort of lay people, and then typically we're looking at generally safety concerns, we're looking at pedestrian crosswalks. I haven't seen a lot of sidewalks come up, but typically it's speed, it's traffic speed and things like that. And then just one other comment, I would say that is right on the sort of, you could throw a ball to the Madbury Road fairly large sidewalk renovation that's just taking place right there. So that is you still have to get there, but there is a fairly, that's probably the largest pedestrian development that we've done all the way from Route 4 all the way essentially down there. But
Okay, out of curiosity, has anything in your time on the Traffic Safety Committee, has anybody brought any sort of suggestions about this corner?
can we, this corner? No.
no, but there have been other areas downtown that are that have been points of discussion.
And Emma, this corner being Cowell Drive?
Yes, yeah,
corner?
yeah, that's what I mean, sorry.
Probably too much minutia there to make it to the...
Yeah. No. Peter?
Question for Michael for educational purposes. In the existing table of uses, residence multi-unit is permitted in Churchill. And if I remember your emails to the board, that allows for 3 residential units given the size of the lot in Churchill, correct?
Right.
So without a variance, not the applicant, but this property would be limited to 3 units, 3 apartments.
3
Right.
normal apartments.
3 normal apartments. And whereas a rooming house would be of right, a big house with lots of bedrooms and lots of bathrooms could go in no matter what.
Right. I mean, right now, it would only be a single family. A boarding house would be considered one dwelling unit. You could have 12 occupants. You're going to have one kitchen. You could do that by right. Likewise, if you have a 3-unit dwelling, there's also no limit on how many go in each dwelling as well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
that is without regard to proposed, well, we're not proposing any changes in Church Hill, right? That's a completely different.
Separate,
Yeah.
just.
I was just getting clarification
try
on
to keep
what's
focus.
now.
All right, so, I mean, a lot of what Gary said, I agree with. You know, part of the, you know, our role is to guide the town through change. And this area, because it's so close to downtown, is going to change over the decades.
Already has.
Yeah, in a way, it already has. And it's I think it's more in our role to try to control that change than it is to either accelerate or try to keep it from happening, at least in this zone, right? Part of what the master plan has asked us to do is take a look at the downtown and its surrounding areas and identify how to perform intelligent infill. And this, to me, this lot represents intelligent infill.
Comment.
I'm not convinced that all these neighborhoods are going to turn over and
No, not all
become-
of them. No.
You know, I've lived downtown in two of these neighborhoods, Woodman Road, Baghdad. Those neighborhoods they're not changing rapidly. Faculty is not changing rapidly. It's, you know, anecdotally people say it is, but that's like one house turnover, and that's kind of striking when one or two houses become student rentals, but it's not changing in a wide way. So I think these pocket neighborhoods are really worth defending from a zoning perspective, because they are the best neighborhoods in the town. That one, everything from Woodman through Baghdad, all of Faculty, on the other side of, you know, the university going up Madbury Road. I'm not convinced they're all going to flip and become student. I'm not convinced they're all going to become full of a lot of people as rentals. I think the worst case scenario is what we should be thinking about on this rezoning. So if it can be 3 units with maximum rentals, there's no cap on the 3 units, is what you said, Michael, right? So you could have 12 bodies in each one of these 3 units. That seems like a very bad outcome compared to what it is now, which is 1 unit with, if we don't change the zone, what's the worst outcome? And that has been, you know, contemplated is a rooming house there with 12 bodies in it. It seems like we're making the problem worse by doing 3 units allowed there.
Well, the things we really, that makes this be worse is the way we have somehow created density requirements that encourage large bedroom units as opposed to small bedroom units.
On Churchill.
Educate me more about what that means.
What that means. What that means is that because this lot, I mean, when you look at the side, why can I not put a 4-family house on this lot? Doesn't make any sense to me. If I look at any town, many of our neighboring towns that actually have 4-unit houses, 4-family houses, they would fit on this lot. They put them on quarter-acre lots all the time in other places. We don't allow that. We're saying, oh, no, you can't do a 4-family house because you have your densities. So instead of doing a 4-family house that each has 2 or 3 bedrooms, you're saying, oh, you get to do a 3-family house, but go put 6 bedrooms in.
So you're saying that this is 2 things in conjunction, rezone and change
So part of what the housing
density
task,
to 3,200 or 3,000? Because this is,
that is something that we need to look at in a hurry. Yes.
so what's the worst bad actor gonna do now and rezoned? What's the worst bad actor?
I think the worst bad actor is that in my opinion, the worst bad actor is he's going to just build a house and fill it with bedrooms. Is there still a limit by fire code as to how many?
16. Yeah, and if it's,
16?
if it's more than 16, it has to be sprinkled, is that what it is?
No, it's more than 5, it has to be sprinkled.
Oh, okay.
It's, when it gets to 16, there's something else that goes into play, which but I don't know what it is.
So you literally could carve up a house, and this is something that, yeah, into 16 rooms. And then you can still put, or 8 rooms and put 2 people in each room. I mean, the worst case scenario, in my opinion, is an existing house that's just carved up into, it's basically just Frankenstein. It's
just a rooming
carved
house.
up and it becomes really a rooming house where you would have a lot of people coming and going, and where you would have parking and you would have everything people are afraid of.
I spoke with one of my neighbors, and when I mentioned that there was a proposal for a plan that would provide studios, she was like, "Oh, I'd love to have my mother that close."
I would love to put one of my kids in.
Well, a property owner
Get
here,
rid of them.
a property owner here could put a nice house in an ADU there today.
But it wouldn't be, is it worth tearing down and building new for that? No.
No, because
Who knows what the house looks like inside right now?
But yeah, to Sally's point, I think you raised a really good issue that if it's one house with 16 rooms, those are 16 independently operating people. That's very likely that there are 16 people that need parking. If it's 3 units, there is potential that that's only 3 families, and that is 3 to 6 cars as opposed to 16 cars.
If you're doing triplex.
I really don't want to, but
What's the desired
I can see
outcome
where
we
your
want
decision
here?
point is.
What's the desired outcome
My desired outcome,
For a building.
For a building?
What's the best case
The
scenario?
thought would be, what would be a footprint? What's a reasonable apartment size from a developer's point of view? And then you figure out, given what your building is on that particular lot, you calculate out what your density should be to allow X number of apartments of those sizes, right? And right now, our zoning doesn't allow that. That's something we need to, but it's something the Housing Task Force has asked us to look at. But it's a different topic, and it would address the concerns that a lot of folks have here. It doesn't address you'd still have a lot more traffic on this road, but the traffic on this road is coming no matter what. There's nothing we can do to stop the traffic on the road.
So I think the best case scenario, we looked at the worst case scenario was really bad. Best case scenario would be that we do address the density, because right now it doesn't really allow for what we're required to allow in Churchill, because it's not high enough. But you change the density and you create a professionally managed apartment complex with 1 bedrooms or 2 bedrooms, and you are then creating housing that is attractive to small families, young adults, grad students that have, that are there, students that have left and want to stay in Durham, have gotten jobs in there. So you create a multi-generational apartment complex.
What's like the unit count and the number of bodies that you're describing?
I mean, it would depend on what they would put in, but
That becomes a pencil activity, really.
Yeah.
Anybody on this side? Right now, we're
Could be
dominating on this.
8 units.
Peyton?
So, 2 things. When I look at it visually on the map like this, just visually, I see density. I see you've got CB, you've got PO, and then you've got CB2. And you've got, the post office right here. So this just speaks to me I think infill makes sense. I think when someone's walkable to a grocery store and to services, there's some secondary things. You get cars off the street, you allow people to have mobility, you allow additional services to be provided. So when I look at that location, I say that it makes an awful lot of sense to have some density there. You have it across the street on over here CB2 and then CB1, and you've got PO. You've got the church here. I'm certainly sensitive to the neighborhood, and it's a beautiful neighborhood there. If it almost was anywhere other than this location, that would raise more concerns. But you're sort of right on the edge, surrounded on three sides by Churchill, across the street from PO. So I think you can make the case that infill makes sense there, and that there's a sort of a natural boundary. Sometimes I look at that and I'm a little surprised that it was ever sort of laid out like that to begin with, because it doesn't feel like the natural sort of separation there. I understand the neighborhood, and so I see that. So I see density. I see that it would make an awful lot of sense to do something that's imagined, that's provides density and more services right downtown. And I think if we want to have some growth, this is the area that makes a lot of sense.
Anyone else before we go back to Julian? Julian?
If I heard Rob correctly, he said that the faculty neighborhood is not changing rapidly. Well, I think the rapid change came years ago, and that we're about to see the possibility of rapid change in the faculty neighborhood because we can now have detached dwelling units in so many of the backyards. The faculty neighborhood has a lot of big backyards. I have a small backyard abutting the faculty neighborhood, but there's enough room for a detached dwelling unit, which I would prefer to live in than sharing the house with my son and his partner, my house. So there are some big changes coming. And we have a lot more room for development and redevelopment in the faculty neighborhood without tearing down or enlarging those existing houses. So.
I'd like to make one statement about the infill and why it makes sense to me, subject to the infrastructure issue I raised, and that is that when we've talked about downtown and changing height requirements and so forth, naturally there's a lot of concern about, changing the aesthetics of downtown. Well, here you add density and you don't do anything to change the historical architecture in the city of town. You're adding density in a place that is an easy walk, but how do you walk there without walking down the middle of the street? And it's certainly, it's absurd to me that how inaccessible it is. It doesn't really make, people talk about it being walkable. It's not walkable. I mean, not safely.
It's more walkable in the spring, summer, and fall than it is in the dead of winter.
A little bit,
that can be corrected.
but I mean, if you're a wheelchair user, I mean, this place would be bad. This whole street would be really bad news. I mean, if something's got. I would think
Too
something
steep
needs to
for
be
a
done.
wheelchair.
I was just, that hill wouldn't be great.
I mean, I think if you consider something downtown, you have to think downtown is a place that, in general, is accessible to people with disabilities.
Yeah.
Although to that, I mean, I'm not going to say you're 200 feet from that. There's clearly an issue getting from that location to probably the best sidewalk infrastructure we have. But there is that 200 feet.
And getting across Madbury Road.
Totally. And it would make sense, I think, to Emma's earlier point, if you combined the idea of of non-vehicular transportation with some of this rezoning, and you were thinking about, okay, what is the path? How do pedestrians navigate if there's going to be additional infill and things like that? But yes, your point is well taken, is that you do have a gap there, and then
Something's got to be done.
something would probably, you also have, Technology Drive was another one that we looked at, where all of a sudden you have 18-wheelers going down there, and there wasn't pedestrian access for that either, so it's a concern.
How about you three cats? Haven't said anything. No opinion?
I'll start.
Go ahead.
So, when we make big zoning changes in the past, and I won't take us back to the 60s, we've had some studies done. Like when we went to the conservation subdivision regulations, we wanted to get an idea of just how many residential dwelling units could be constructed in our town. And I forget what the number was. It was like 3,000 or 4,000 is what we had left. And here as well, when we talk about increasing density in our downtown, it would be kind of nice for us to know, well, what's our current capacity in terms of supplying water? And what's our capacity out at the wastewater treatment plant? The capacity at the schools. When do we start hitting those thresholds where, big increases in capital improvement costs are required for that infrastructure for us to drive that density in town? I'm on the fence with this one particular postage stamp of a change here. I do agree. It looks so odd when we look at that little yellow square there. Why isn't that green? It should have been green. It should have been green a long time ago, and it's not. But that's where I am today. I struggle with this particular proposal that's in front of us, and in the bigger picture, I'd really like to get some better understanding of what those red lines are in terms of our wastewater treatment capacity, our water supply capacity, and our student population.
It should be brown.
Next.
So, the next to newest kid on the block. I think that, it's a problematic spot. It's a horrible decision, but I think, in the context of housing, if we're really going to be serious about dealing with the housing issues in Durham, then we're going to have to infill. That's one of the tools we have to do that. And I don't know that there's a better lot in Durham to do infilling on. It's just in the right place for that. In terms of a zoning change. You're overlooking the post office parking lot. That's the view from the house and over to the church. So your views out of that house are not of a residential neighborhood. Although all the other people on the street, they're a bit more protected. Does this decrease their protection from that? Yeah, probably would if we changed it. It's going to change kind of no matter what this lot is put to use for. That's kind of the reality we're looking at here. And it's because, we've talked a lot in the 6 months, or I don't know, about 6 months I've been on the board now, a lot about what are we going to do about downtown and what are we going to do about housing. And this is the front line in that argument, and I look at this as kind of put up or shut up. If you're going to do something about those two problems, then it's clear that this lot should probably be rezoned. It's a hard decision, but as kind of the outsider now thrown on the inside, that's where I'd come down, is to rezone it. But I'm not voting on this, at least not tonight, so.
Anyone else? Julian, you wanted to come back?
Okay, there's so many things to say. Consider the view. Go up to that lot on a nice sunny day and look out over the valley. The view to the west, slightly to the southeast and the northwest, etc., is really very nice. We have an attractive view of all of the new housing and all of the new high-rises that have been built in the last 20 or 25 years. A building of several stories looking out that way would be very attractive. And I think the developer could probably have really upscale apartments or condos and so on. And let us look at the zoning. Church Hill on this map is on the north side, the northwest side of Main Street. Church Hill includes where we're sitting right now. It includes the Red Tower property. It includes the community church. But for some reason, it also includes a large parcel that has nothing to do with Church Hill. It's on the other side of Newmarket Road. It is some very nice properties, including the Three Chimneys Inn. That strikes me as spot zoning. And let us consider this big green spot up here with at least two churches. You've got the St. Thomas More and the Unitarian Church on the corner. So Church Hill might very well include, if we're going to do some rezoning, we might consider rezoning these church properties as part of Church Hill, along with the 10 Cowell Drive. And we might consider rezoning this Church Hill parcel here at some future date, not connected to this. And for that matter, oh heck, we might as well realize that Church Hill actually slopes down to across Chesley Drive to College Brook. College Brook is at the bottom of Church Hill, and yet it is in the RA zone. So we have all of that. Peyton, I sat for 10 years on the Traffic Safety Committee with Chief Dave Kurz, and Dave and I fought back and forth for 10 years about what constituted traffic safety. So I'm sympathetic to the problem of what is happening on College, or rather on Cowell Drive, and what may have to happen. And I'd like finally to call attention to paragraph 5 in the town planner's review, where he says, Michael says, it is challenging to retain post offices. I'm sorry, let me start again. The post office lot should not be rezoned now for one particular reason. It is challenging to retain post offices in downtown and best to leave well enough alone so as not to invite the post office to start thinking about other plans. Considering that the upper level of the post office building is vacant and not in use, and considering that the drugstore that abandoned the plaza, that big space is open, I think it might be very prudent for us to ask our member of Congress to encourage the post office to plan to move out of the post office over to the plaza. There's more parking for the post office, people coming to the post offices at the plaza. Michael, perhaps you could talk to the Torrington people. Would they be interested in turning that empty drugstore, which is really a convenience store, part of it into post offices, lots of parking in front and back, and so on. So, yeah, I'd like to see the post office in a more convenient location, particularly when I go to the grocery store, when I go to the bagel shop, the works, etc. So let's move the post office. Thank you. That concludes my remarks.
And that's your remarks on the rezoning?
Well, we're going to support it.
All right. Shall we vote then? I guess that's the next step. We're done talking?
I guess I would just add one thing, and just to address the concerns of the neighborhood, that right now, that property, if I'm not mistaken, is being rented to students. Is that correct? The occupant, I mean,
Current
the property owner is nodding yes. And the property right next door is also owned by a fairly well-known property owner that is renting to students as well.
Oh, say his name.
Peter Murphy owns the next one. So, yeah, so that is also being rented. I think that the opportunity in rezoning, which I think does have some merit, would result in creating more family-oriented, can we use the word family? I don't know, can we use that word anymore? Multi-generational oriented housing that would fit into the neighborhood more. There may be more cars and parking lots, but it would also be professionally managed and maintained, and would attract more families or less students. It would attract less students because it would be that type of housing.
Yes.
That I too feel that the property owner is trying to create. But what is there now, and the way to best optimize what can be done now will be to do our worst nightmare, and that is just pack as many bodies into a house as you can, because you can make $1,000 a bed. I mean, when that 3 unrelated disappeared because of the state, I even ran through the numbers in my own head. I said, "Hey, Harry, you want to retire to Sicily now? Because we can turn this house into 13 bedrooms." And then I'm like, but I cringed, and I'm like, "What, I'm going to ruin my newly wallpapered walls?" It's like, I mean, because we care about our house, but there are people out there that will take advantage of it, I think. So I think to create residents that permanent residents will live in, people that want to be in the community, that are going to be here with on a more permanent basis, I think is a better option.
All right, so we need a motion. I'll kick it off. Where's what I'm looking for? I'll move that we initiate a zoning change to rezone 10 Cowell Drive, map 108, lot 27, from Residence A to Church Hill District. Do I have a second?
A second.
Any more discussion before we vote?
I'll say something. I'm prepared to vote yes with but because the existing change is only one incremental change, my support for anything that would result in a really much greater density than is currently permitted for development in Churchill, as explained by Michael, would depend on infrastructure issues and some mechanism for addressing those, so that this becomes more than so that the infrastructure is consistent with the density we're trying to create.
I have one question. This has to go to council, right?
Has to go to
So
council.
there's a whole.
So the whole point of us
Public hearing
initiating
process.
it is that it will go to town council, who will have a public hearing, will have a first reading, have a public hearing, and then make a decision on their own.
Couple questions. So any sort of multi-residential unit would require site plan review?
Correct.
If it's 3 units.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's all, the architecture regulations also come into play for 3 units.
Yeah,
But a traffic study at that point could also be done.
yeah, traffic study.
Improvements.
But
Sidewalks.
but a boarding house wouldn't necessarily
Nope.
require site plan
It does
review.
not, because
Nope.
it's
Would not.
considered a single family.
Just some drywall and some stuff.
Yeah.
So if you want to guarantee, well, the worst possible outcome.
Yeah, you know, I feel like I'm kind of hostage here, you know?
Yeah,
You feel
I
like
really
you're
do.
rocking a hard place.
Well, no, I mean, a property owner does not have to go to the worst outcome. And
No.
that was what was discussed
No.
last time. And the outcomes that were described if we don't change it were challenged in our meeting. And, you know, the property owner doesn't have to do that. So we're not hostage to that necessarily.
No, I think
I'm
we're more,
curious what the controls are that we
I
have.
believe that we're more hostage to our own zoning at this point.
Well, what are the controls that we would have if this was approved and the 3-unit, which is the maximum density that they're going to get there, what limits could we put on the sizes of those 3-unit houses? From a design perspective, if it's only got 2 bedrooms, then
Yeah, if it, two units is exempt from site plan review, 3 units and more is subject to site plan review. So you would look at, you would have no control over the number of bedrooms or occupants for each unit. There's the maximum impervious surface in Church Hill, which is 80%.
what's the height restriction there?
The
30?
Yeah, it's 30, and then it's 35 by conditional use, so, 2.5 stories, 3 stories maybe. There is architectural review. We require 1 parking space per unit, but if the applicant wanted more, you'd have some discretion if that's too much. The parking area probably, I believe, would have to be around the side and not in the front. You'd have the usual stuff, drainage, landscaping.
So the reason I'm
architecture.
asking these questions is if we voted yes for this and you had a good actor who was working cooperatively with us, what's the outcome that we'd be looking at? We could be looking at 3 units, 2 stories high with
2 or 3 bedrooms.
2 or 3 bedrooms. That's what we're kind of looking at with a cooperative builder. It
Yeah.
can't be 3 stories high.
Well, probably 2.5 or maybe 3 flat roof.
So you could have 3 townhouses side by side, is what it would look like. That we could control for that.
Well, you would not have control over the size, the number of occupants, the number of bedrooms, whether it's apartments or townhouses, that would be up to the applicant. It's limited. It's really design issues and not the zoning of numbers of units. The numbers you would not, but the general design of the site you would. And, keep in mind that Churchill does allow other, as was mentioned by one of the neighbors, it also allows other uses. Now, presumably, the best use there is going to be multifamily. But there are some other limited commercial uses as well that are allowed there.
So we're just voting to
So-
move this to the town council.
We're going to, yes, we're voting to do that, so any more questions? All in favor?
Aye.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Nay.
Opposed?
Nay for me.
Reason?
No, I have a question for you. This may be a little cockamamie, but, oh, sorry.
We just-
Go ahead.
Yes, because we've been told that when we have negative votes, we should ask
Oh, yeah.
why, right?
Right.
So, for the record,
Yeah, so I'm voting nay because I think that the pocket neighborhoods, this is a erosion of a pocket neighborhood, and I'm not sure we have sufficient controls to prevent an outcome which is higher density than we want right now,
Okay,
than what the
thank you.
neighborhood wants now.
all right, and Michael?
So just one comment. This may be a little cockamamie, but I'm going to suggest it. I put it in my memo, something just for you to consider briefly. Rather than zoning that entire lot, you could zone, virtually all of it, except that little triangle to the east. If you could just keep that triangle as RA, and the only reason for that would be to send a message in the future that you are really focusing on this lot and you don't want to go beyond that.
And what, can you just?
Yeah, so if you blow that up,
Triangles.
that odd triangle at the northeast.
From the corner of the road? See how the road-
Yeah, right
road
there,
makes
right
that
there,
corner?
the northeast.
Yeah.
It has no legal effect at all, but if you exclude that triangle, the line is a little more consistent, and you in the future, in 3 years, you may be sending a message that, gee, I wonder why they left that triangle. They probably are trying to tell us, don't go further into the neighborhood. So it has no legal bearing. It's a little odd, but it may be worth doing just to communicate something in the future.
What do people think?
I don't know what they're gonna do though.
I'm seeing.
All right.
I'm seeing mostly
Yeah,
no's.
okay. It's enough of that.
Okay. Oh, that got us to 9:40. So,
So is there just, or were there other no's with the state that needed to explain?
well,
Was only the one nay?
with,
That's correct.
on the vote?
Yeah.
For the rezoning you're talking about? Yes, it was 6-1, with Rob being the nay. All right, the next thing on our, so zoning amendments recommended by Housing Task Force. Do we want to start that now? How are people feeling?
Tired.
Not good.
Yeah, tired.
But
We already talked about the mislinking of the EV charging stuff. So we have, let's get these minutes out of the way then. January 14 minutes.
So this is yours?
Are we going to do this?
Does anybody have anything substantive for the
I haven't even opened it yet.
14 minutes?
January 14th.
I've got to try and remember one of the January meetings I wasn't here for, so I can't remember which one it was. You can't remember either?
You
Oh,
were
we're so
here,
good.
you were here for the
You were here
14th,
for the-
Darrell was
Okay.
absent, and then you guys flipped on the 28th.
Okay,
They do put the members present.
all right, so I'll vote on the
That was out. You were out. Yeah.
Okay, we're moving on to
14th,
the
but not
draft
the
minutes?
28th.
Yes.
Okay,
Is that right?
Yes.
I've got several suggestions.
Go ahead.
All right. Page 1, line 27, I would change the wording, lines 27 and 28. I would change that to Richard Kelly moved to amend the agenda as proposed.
It says as just amended.
He moved to amend
It
the
says-
agenda as proposed.
How about approve the amended agenda?
Or
That's the
to
same thing as it's already.
approve the amended
Approve
agenda.
The agenda as just.
Yeah. And on line 41, there's a reference to Resolution 2026-02 to allow guns on campus. No, it was not to allow guns on campus. Opposing, this was Resolution 2026-02, opposing New Hampshire House Bill 1793. Is that your sense, Peyton, of what?
It was to oppose, yeah, the resolution
Yeah.
was to,
Yeah, but what it says in the minutes is to allow guns on campus. We already have guns on campus, the
It's-
campus cops.
it's not clear,
Yeah,
and it probably should say UNH campus.
yeah, the UNH campus.
He's right here.
But opposed specifically, it's opposing House Bill
To oppose
1793.
House bill, which would probably be kind of
Yeah.
substitute.
On
Good
page,
at this.
okay.
Very good at this. You're very good at the meeting minutes.
I don't know where the hell we are.
I used to wite state legislation.
You're terrific.
To edit state legislation for the University of Florida. 25 years. Okay. On page 2, line 19, there's a reference to Al Graziano agreeing that, quote, "there has been nothing but harassment and bullying from town staff." I think that's what he means. He's talking specifically about harassment and bullying by town staff. Now, I'm sorry, I could not be at that meeting, but I did watch it on DCAT. I had the flu. So I think that's what he meant. Do you all understand what I just said?
That is what he meant, yes.
Okay. And line 34 on page 2, the chair, blah, 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 asks I'm sorry, the chair in line 33 asked the planning board to schedule the public hearing on the draft with town council change dated January 28th, 2026. Not the change for January 28th, but the change dated January 28th. You got it? You all understand what I just said?
Yep.
I guess
No, we're scheduling a public hearing for the 28th.
Okay, yeah, but there needs to be some kind of change. On page 5, line 26, Ben Buckley of 569 Baghdad Road said to him, it seems the point for allowing height limits. No, I think what he meant is the point for allowing higher height limits. It's not the point for allowing height limits, but the point for allowing higher height limits.
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
Increased height limits.
And let's see, page 7, line 41. Daniel Day of Baghdad Road said the feedback on the mics is killing my ears. He said we're losing a store, blah. I wonder what he meant. Does anyone know what he meant
On that,
by
what line was that, 8?
feedback killing his ears?
There was
we were-
feedback in the room that evening.
We were adjusting, trying to get
Oh,
the,
okay, so thank you.
It was annoying.
Yeah, I couldn't get that from watching. Okay.
So
And...
it's feedback from the mics,
Yeah.
It's feedback from the mics.
Okay.
Yeah.
not on.
Page 8, line 25, and page 8,
Right.
line 34, there's a reference to someone named Doug Banks. I think that's Doug Binks.
No,
It's
B-E-N-C-K.
Yeah, yeah. So that
Banks,
needs to be
B-E-N-K.
right,
corrected.
right. BENCK is what it should be, and it's not.
Finally, on the last page, page 11, I recommend changing line 88 to read Chair Rasmussen, I'm sorry, the planning board meeting.
There's only
the planning
34
board
lines.
meeting
What line?
adjourns-
What line?
What line? There is no line 88, Julian. There's no line 28.
Line 28. The planning board meeting adjourned at 9:50. You did not adjourn the meeting, Mr. Chair. The board adjourned because it voted to adjourn. That's what I'm getting at. Listen.
You lowered the gavel.
Is Vice Chair Tobias moved to adjourn?
He did lower the gavel.
I used to do this in grade school, and the teachers got mad at me. I did it in high school.
Boy, I kind of understand that.
Yeah. Now it's a new group, Julian.
I like it. I don't think that one needs to be changed.
It's a personality disorder. I apologize for it.
It's a beautiful.
You should meet my daughter.
Ready?
You should meet my wife.
Okay,
Did you vote on the minutes?
Anything
Not
more?
yet.
not yet, we're going to.
As
Then we'll move on to
amended. Does
January
anyone else have any
28th.
changes? Corrections?
No.
I move we accept the minutes as amended.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Well,
Now,
Opposed?
January 28th.
All right, January 28th.
Oh, God.
here we go again. I have some changes on pages 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. You ready?
Not yet. 3. Okay.
Anyone else?
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Tell me when.
When?
Okay. Page 3, lines 10 and 11. Chair Rasmussen said, in his mind, there are 3 options. 1, send back what the planning board originally sent. Not we, but the planning board originally sent, and say we had it right, or the planning board had it right the first time. 2, say their ideas, instead of their idea, the council's ideas. Not their ideas, but the council's ideas. And line 39 and 40 on page 3.
Well, I mean, I will say that the minutes actually properly stated what I said.
Okay, that's what you said, but what you said is not clear as reported in the minutes. What I'm suggesting is that the minutes don't necessarily quote one exactly, but somehow provide the sense of what is meant. That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah, because it's
Okay.
not, you're not quoting verbatim.
Yeah. Let's look at line 40 on page 3, where there's a reference to across the street. There is no Churchill zoning across the street from the lot on Cowell Drive that you were talking about.
No, it's across the street from PO was the statement I was
Yeah.
making there. Professional office.
But, okay. Does everyone understand the difference between what we're saying? You can leave it alone. Okay. And I don't understand in line 44 what is meant when Mr. Berlin said the building on lot 27, the buildings on lot 27 show that it is not RA. So, if anyone else doesn't understand that, we'll let them add to that. Page 4, line 10, there's a reference to 48 bedroom units. It's not 48 bedroom units, it's 48 bedrooms. Or does that mean, or is a reference to how many dwelling units we're talking about? There's confusion here between the notion of bedroom units and dwelling units. Does anyone see the confusion other than me? Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
he
the
was
bedroom
proposing a
units is
48-bedroom structure with the majority being studios and 2 bedrooms. That's what he was showing at the time.
Yes, he's big, yeah, a combined bedroom count.
Right, so it should say proposing 48 bedroom structure.
He's sitting right over there. We could.
No.
I mean,
You have anything to add?
that's what he was showing. That's all right.
That's
all right.
okay, don't worry about it.
Okay, page 5, lines 5 and 6. Chair Rasmussen scheduled the site walk for prospective rezoning on Cowell Drive for Saturday, February 7th at blah, 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 at 10:30 a.m. Why is there no mention of setting the public hearing? Did we schedule the public hearing?
You did.
We did that
Okay.
day.
Is there any reference to it in the minutes?
No.
Does there have to be a reference to
Oh,
scheduling a public hearing?
Oh, well,
It's not necessary, but it, should be in there.
30, he asked if
If
the
we
board
voted
wanted
on
to
it,
do a
it should be
sidewalk
in
and then
there.
set a
Oh,
public
yeah.
hearing.
Okay. On page 5, line 30, that sentence begins, Housing Task Force also recommends. Who said this? Was it Michael Barron or was it Sally Tobias?
What line
who
do we
said-
run to?
Line 30.
The housing
Who said the
task
Housing
force-
Task Force also recommended?
The housing, it does, I would lose the word also, because that makes it sound like somebody else did, but the Housing Task Force
Yeah.
recommends removing the senior housing
Yeah.
single
But
family.
who introduced that notion into the discussion?
Probably
It was during the
Sally.
it was during the Housing Task Force presentation,
Okay, it's a summary of,
yes.
okay.
Of the.
So you said this is what the
Yeah,
Housing
that-
Task
I
Force...
was explaining what some of our suggestions were.
Okay. On page 6, lines 14 and 15, there are references to 20,000 hyphen 10,000, and down from 40,000 hyphen 20,000. Where those hyphens are between 20,000 and 10,000 and between 40,000 and 20,000, I would put in the word to, T-O. You follow?
Yeah.
More clear,
Okay.
yep.
And page 7, line 33, Mr. Smith said it was premature to spend a lot of time on to make costly. What I said was, it would be premature to spend a lot of time on this issue or to make costly requirements. You got it?
Yeah.
And finally, page 8, line 10, the planning board meeting adjourned at 9:57. Again, I don't think you adjourned the meeting. The planning board voted to adjourn the meeting, which is stated in line 7 and 8. This is a simple matter of how we handle certain issues in minutes. And I spent more than 10 years doing that for both the planning board and the town council when I was on both.
Wow.
Well, where were you on the December 10th minutes that we voted on earlier today? Because you didn't catch it there.
I didn't bother there.
Chair Rasmussen adjourned the planning board
I
meeting
know.
at 9:53.
Okay.
I didn't want to be too picky, but I decided to be picky on the later.
There you go.
Are there any more changes?
No.
Can I just ask a question on that process? Because I think Julian's edits are always great. And so I was wondering if there might be a process before the meeting where you could almost deliver those edits.
If the minutes could be provided to me, a paper copy of the minutes provided to me by the planner or whoever, I can pick them up. I live a short distance away. I pick them up. I can sit down in the planner's office, rather in the hallway, whatever, and make the changes, make the recommendations. This is what I used to do when our minutes were 25 or 30 pages long and were being done by a professional minute taker who sat in the corner. So I would make these changes and they would go into the packet.
You needed to vote.
Oh, okay.
This is how we miss votes.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah. So
I make a motion to approve the minutes as amended.
I'll second that.
All right, were there any more changes to the minutes? We have a motion and a second. No? All right, all in favor? Aye.
And I'm going to abstain, I wasn't there.
Very good, thank you.
And me
Abstention
too.
from
Second abstention.
Heather and Richard. Okay.
And Paul, I just have one question, maybe it's a Paul Sally question. Is there a timeline we're working on for those other zoning amendments that we want to do them as soon as possible? Should that be
So,
hot button?
yes, I think so. I mean, I was going to, as part of the housing task force, we were looking at at those dimensions for the RAs and residential zones, but I think we should take, for the residential purpose, that particular row that deals with density for all our different zones, we should just review each zone, ensure it makes sense. Try to come and do some calculations to try to figure out what appropriate numbers are when we start talking about multi-unit buildings. Because that's where they break down. Because whoever came up with the numbers with the exception of OR, wasn't really thinking about what numbers make sense for multi-unit buildings.
You know what might be interesting is I went through the Newmarket did an update on their zoning in 2025, and they added an entire section on multi-unit. And the dimensions, have you looked at it?
Yeah, I looked at them when I was looking
I
at
haven't-
heights, but I didn't go into the densities.
It showed it might be something we use
So-
to kind
How
of
they
bring our
should be
brains in.
configured and
Yeah,
stuff?
I'll do that for the next meeting. I'll
I haven't read the whole
collect a
thing, but I
bunch
noticed
of densities, ideas
Including the
that are used.
50-foot.
Like I said, the building heights, we're the only place in town that wasn't using 50 foot. You know, the only place in,
Anyway, move on.
but, all right.
Okay.
The business?
Is there any other business?
Yes. Richard, if you would defer to me, I would like to make a motion. I
Please.
move we adjourn.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Would you please adjourn us?
The chair
he
just
can't.
adjourned the meeting.
Yep. Oh, no.